I didn't do this. Well, hello, Crime Stoppers. This just happened, and I just noticed it when I turned the camera on. Um, it's Arizona. What it does is what it does. Look, if I put these glasses on, hi, I'm friendly, and okay. And then let's get this over here and this over here. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now I take and look, change of personality. Take this on. Put this on. Oh, oops. Oh, completely different, eh? And then what? Wait, wait. One more. Well, there's Nerd City right there. Okay. And then I got round ones and all kinds of stuff, but I just this fucking here. Unbelievable. Anyway, like I said, I didn't do this. This is not me styling. This is just me, my hair dried, and apparently this is what it looks like. I didn't realize. Anyway, happy Mother's Day, Crime Stoppers. It is the day for mothers. I'm not going to do Mother's Day stuff. Which glasses have I done? I think I'll do these. And I just want to read you this. Let's see how long it takes me to read this. This could be a very long one because I'll make comments and so forth. Here's the thing about our boy, Brandon Joe Williams. Brandon jumped on the scene, I don't know, around 2021 or so. 2020, something like that. That's probably what caused him to wake up a little bit when he started seeing the trespass against rights. And then decided that maybe he should do some studying. Okay. Then what happens is he goes full bore, which is excellent, and discovers a whole bunch of stuff. So and does like serious research. And I've been in this game much longer than he has, and I can see his evolution. See, what he was thinking is the first thing you need to do is get in the court and prove you're a man and do okay. It's a rigged game. They have no honor. These are people that traffic children. Maybe you don't want to walk into their court. Maybe you want to do every fucking thing you can to avoid going into their courts. And there's all kind of tricks to avoid, but sometimes you have to be able to, right? Okay, but see, now I understand a few things. Now I understand, you motherfuckers wrote a bond on me. So I'd like to see who used my social security number and signed my name so that you could write the appearance bond. I was too fucking ignorant to even ask. I didn't know there was an appearance bond for most of my life. I didn't know they were bonding us, and neither did you. And in fact, there are several people that when I told them that they were bonded, they straight up didn't believe me. And then they did a little more research, and then they got mad. Okay, don't get mad. Get glad. Be happy that you found out about all this stuff. Now, here is the thing. It's a game about words, right? Mother. That's not a birthing person. That's a mother. Here's the word, and I'm going to, like, this treat sheet is long and worth it. I'm going to see how far I get here today, and we'll use it as the sounding board. And then I got to make a whole lot more videos more often because there's just so much shit going on. Holy crap. And then I'm trying to teach myself AI. And then I'm building out my website. My website is no longer cheap. My website used to be, how shall we say, rather inexpensive, because I was trying to get as many homeschool moms as possible. But then, and see, I didn't realize how profane and stupid most of the homeschool moms were. Just because they're homeschooling doesn't put them in a special class. A lot of the homeschool moms just basically want to take the classroom situation and put it in their spare bedroom or something. That's not necessarily homeschooling. Further, homeschool should be a lot of things that you wouldn't normally get in public school. And right now, that's crazy stuff like reading, writing, arithmetic. It is insane, the statistics that are coming out now. Some of them are designed to make it look bad so that whatever department it is can get more money. But some of it is an actual, what's the word I want? Is an actual indication or a reflection of what's actually going on in the schools. Those are not the words I want, but that's what it's going to have to be, because that's the only thing that's coming at the moment. But the idea is that these guys, they're not teaching reading, writing, rhetoric. They're not teaching mathematics for damn sure. And they'd rather you not know mathematics, people. So the idea that, my website teaches mathematics for super cheap, that's going away. If you want to learn mathematics, I have a bunch of secrets on my website. They're literally secrets, stuff that they didn't teach you in school. That makes stuff like ratios super easy. That makes why do you invert and multiply? I mean, just all kind of stuff. I can't remember. There's a bunch of them that people just take it for granted. This is the rule, and they don't know why the rule. I show you the why for the rules. And a lot of times people have misconceptions that I can clear up like that because you can see it. And then other people have questions. Like this one guy, he knew Vedic mathematics. He was from India, and he understood that when you take a number and let's say you're multiplying by, I don't know, let's say it's, 13 times 11. Well, then you just move the 1 and the 3 over, and then you add 1 and 3, and you put 4 in the middle, and sure enough, it's 1, 4, 3. And if you do the same thing, 17 times 11 is 187 because you just, right? Okay, you're not adding the 100. Anyway, I showed it to him, why it works. And then it's like, oh, of course. Okay, anyway, I'm going to spend time, go watch this on 2 times speed. It's Mother's Day. It's the middle of the day. I would hope that at this time of the day, you are having Mother's Day brunch or Sunday brunch for mom or whatever. I am not celebrating Mother's Day particularly that much right now because all the people that I want to celebrate Mother's Day are off celebrating mothers, and they're having baby showers and doing all kind of estrogen-filled girl stuff that I don't particularly want to participate in. So let them have a fun time. And see, that's the thing. Women being women, guys being guys. When did that ever become anything to even talk about that would be strange or need to be changed or whatever? There's a time when women want to get together and be women. And there's a time when guys want to be together and no women there, right? Okay. And then there's a time when women and men want to get together and dance and party and have fun and do whatever they're going to do. All right. Oh, and one quick thing. I have this, and I want to not show everything that's on this. But anyway, this is a statement from a credit union that has a name on it. It's my son, actually, my oldest son. And this right here is why he has a 4-star passport instead of a 5-star passport. The invisible contracts. He had 1 year to bust those contracts. Right? All the contracts with the minor are voidable. The contracts with us are voidable, but we're going to have to go through a little more work because when we turned 18, we didn't do anything about it. So now we have to be like, well, why didn't you do anything about it when you turned it? Well, because I didn't know, because it was fraud. Ab initio, from the very beginning, from day one, it was fraud. And that birth certificate is evidence of fraud. Right? They claim it's a document that says they own you and have plenary power over you, but actually it's fucking fraud because your mom, nobody would have signed that document if you understood that what that document did was surrender all of your unalienable rights. And you surrendered them. You waived them. You can't give them away. You still have them and you can still reclaim them. You're just going to have to do some paperwork. Okay. I was going to show you the address, but anyway, and see, it's a name, and the way it is, because he's got so damn many names. Between him and his mom, we gave him 4 names. So you can be, like with me, I have 3 names. But still, with 3 names, you can do, and then I have this other name. Ooh, and this other name I created, and it can have its own numbers. And because it's an organization that's actually recognized by United States, because I have a patent for this organization, well, the name of the organization, the trade name, and I own that, and I made that up. Okay, and then I found out that Crouton Ramon was a living individual, and we're going to cover all of that here in just a moment. Where like I said, it's a word game, and you have to know the words, and then understand. You have to divine the words in your documents, in your court, just like when they do any U.S. title. It's going to tell you the definitions. Okay, now that's one of the ways you can figure out what a word means. But a lot of times, and sometimes they'll even say, that only applies to this one title. You can't use definitions in Title 26 and apply them everywhere else because Title 26 applies to only a certain class of people, and it's not positive law. In the meantime, Title 1, yeah, that applies everywhere. To U.S. persons, to people who want to be naturalized in District of Columbia, who want to be part of the foreign invaders who took over the North American continent and trick Americans into becoming U.S. citizens. All right. And then they want respect. These motherfuckers were driving around by themselves. Anyway, no. And in their courts telling you, you can't come in our court. You can't come into this banker's bullshit situation unless you put a mask on. All right. So a couple of times I wouldn't go. They were like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, you can appear by Zoom. And then some of the shit that I saw happen by Zoom, unfucking believable. Anyway, I'm going to read this, and it's going to take a while. Put it on 2 times speed. Come back. There's 2 of you here. Come back, and because I'm not going to do too much LARPing today. I should do some LARPing, though, because there's so much to LARP about. You motherfucker, really? You can't figure out that the corporation is not on your side. The head dude for the corporation still not on your side. And it doesn't matter who it is. I kind of like the guy personally, his personality-wise. As dorks billionaires go, he's a pretty interesting dork billionaire. Same thing with that guy Elon. Now, you would think that they would question. They would have questioned this guy Fauci as much as they questioned this guy Elon, but no. And then we find out there's a lot of things we can't talk about. The dead guy, the Pope that's still dead, yeah, that was a severe protector of bad people. They used to, and see, they cycled them through Maui and they cycled them through Kauai. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about those that would harm children, but they wear the collar. A couple of those went through Hawaii, and the Pope, because he's responsible for all that stuff, just transfers. Right? There is a hierarchy that little old Maui goes all the way through the diocese and so forth, and there's a guy in New York, and then it winds up in Pope land in Italy, in the Vatican. And then see people starting to figure, who was Vatican? Who is the Vatican? What? Who are these people? What gods do they worship and represent? Anyway, let's read this treatise. I should share screen, but every time I try to share screen, it doesn't always work out the way I want it to. So anyway, let's see if it's sharing screen. Let's see if it'll actually share screen. And I'm going to try and share just a tab. Oop, not that tab. Bruh. See? I'm not. Oh, there you go. Which I just clear that tab. The thing sharing or what? I don't know. Okay, look like I stay on top of you. Yep. And I'm in the little corner down there. Perfect. All right, let's go up here and get to the top of the page. All right, this is Williams and Williams Law Group. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, a treatise on the word person. All right. Can you guys see that? Is there anything good? I think you can see that. Let's hope. All right, see? And they left. Because many of you have already read this. But a treatise on the word person. Originally started writing this page on 4/6/25, so just last month, April. Official completion of this page was on 4/14, so it took him, it took him 8 days. Last updated on 5/4. Okay, so he's been back to it a couple times. All right, because that's the way it is. You do your paperwork, and I let it sit, right? And I got a pile of it here that you can't see. Just let it sit there for a while, and then come back and read it. And then there's paperwork that I did a long time ago, and I read it, and I'm fucking embarrassed at how ignorant I was. Right? It's a learning process, but this is a spiritual process also. The waking up, the changing of your state. Okay, treatise means a written work dealing formally and systematically with a subject. So that's what this treatise is about. The subject is one word, and that one word has a bunch of other words attached to it, and that word is person. A person. And he doesn't get into the per-son part of it. I think he should spend a little time on etymology. Anyway, since I started my adventure into the study of law in September of 2021, there you go. See, he's a Johnny-come-lately. But unlike many Johnny-come-latelys, he went balls to the wall. He didn't just read everybody else's stuff, and he didn't just go ask people, hey, can I have a cut and paste? Can I have a template that I can just cut and paste and do all my paperwork? No, he actually did the fucking research. What does this word mean? What does that word mean? What is, right? Because same thing happened to me. Crouton Ramon is a living individual? What? Whose consent is considered to be a record? What? That's what it says on my patent. That means I don't know what the words mean, and you're going to find out that you're going to. Yeah, here are the words and what they mean. Let's see here. And oh, I have here's a little tip from your Uncle Lair. If you have trouble with your, why is it doing that? Your mouse on a Mac, when it gets wet, a 3-step process. Wipe it off as best you can. Use some alcohol, right? Because I just had some wet from my hair drip on my trackpad, and it ruins everything. Your trackpad won't work, and then you can't use your computer because everything, you need a mouse. And so what's the number one thing to do is wipe it off with to speed the process. Because if you just let it sit there and evaporate, it'll happen, especially here in Arizona where it's freaking no humidity. So put your thing outside and for sure it'll, right? But then you'll heat it up and that can cause problems. So 1, wipe it down with alcohol. 2, stick it in the freezer to cool everything off. And okay. 3, and this is the most important one. You either need a blow dryer on cool, or you need a fast, high power fan. And then just hold your computer in front, especially the trackpad, in front of it, or put your blow dryer on the trackpad and just let it sit there and blow for a while, and then you'll see in very shortly that it immediately comes back to life and works the way it's supposed to. And then you may have to reset your computer just for fun, restart your computer. All right, anyway, since I started this journey, he started in September 2021, the word person has always been the crux of most confusions, difficulties, upsets, etc. There is literally endless confusion with regard to this word, and it is the single word that has caused a complete breakdown and destruction of our glorious country of America. That's actually not hyperbole or too far from the truth. It's like it boils down to the little things and not understanding I'm a person, right? A genderless person, or I'm a person in the wrong body. Yeah, they want you to refer to yourself as a person, not as a man or a woman. You are one with a womb or without a womb. And that thing that was given a womb or not a womb was also given in and unalienable rights. Inalienable and unalienable. They cannot be leaned. So what you're going to do is put yourself in a position where, first off, you rediscover the fact that you have unalienable rights. And then you're going to let everybody know that you have unalienable rights and that you're not waiving them anymore. And that you had been tricked into waiving them. And there's some documents, simple English. You don't need a template from me or Brandon or any fucking buddy else. Learn this stuff and then write it down. Right? Understand everything they taught you was to enslave you and trap your mind. It's not a joke. It's not conspiracy theory. Okay, the average person is not free. The average person does not have a 5-star passport, doesn't even know what it is. All right. Oh, and the Lone Wolf, I'll put a video down there because it's on YouTube. The Lone Wolf made a video. Yep, they just changed the family page. And see, I'll let them handle it. But there's actually 3 endorsements that you want. They say you're going to get a maximum of 2, but you need 3 because you're going to need 1 to let them know that sometimes you use this alias, this other name that was created. 2, that you are a state citizen, right? A U.S. national. And the national that you're talking about is, because they've broken that into 2, is a state national that is not giving up his rights. You're not a federal U.S. person, U.S. citizen. And if you ever were considered, that was an error. Okay. And so anyway, that's 9. And then you want 11. And what you're going to do is be part of an organization. And then you'll be an ambassador at large for said organization. Okay. You cannot be an ambassador at large for said organization if said organization is United States. And don't try to be considered a diplomat or an ambassador on official business where it can be construed in any way by whoever the hell it is, people usually with IQ caps, where they can think that you're trying to impersonate a diplomat. A big naughty no. Don't do that. And don't try to put paperwork in that makes the Department of State person, whoever is doing your passport, think that you're trying to impersonate a diplomat. Have you been elected? Have you been appointed? Do you have any because you'll have documents if you do, and you put those documents in with your paperwork, and you get a passport that's for the United States. Most of you aren't ever doing that because you're not part of the United States government. You're not even a U.S. citizen. You're not even a fucking resident of D.C. Anyway, okay. See, look, I didn't even get through paragraph 1. Anyway, let's see here. After over 3 years of heavy research into various areas of the law, here in April 2025, due to some massive recent breakthroughs in research, we now have enough information to map the entire breakdown and loss of original knowledge of the most important word in all existence. Okay, that might be a little hyperbole. A word that 99.9% of people don't even realize is literally one of the biggest issues in our entire culture and in other cultures around the world. It's not a joke. The word person, it hinges on the understanding of who and what a person is. There's a bunch of people that think that corporations are not persons. That would be wrong, because they think of a person as living flesh and blood. Okay, that's a whole other thing. That's an organic person, right? And there's artificial persons. So, but if you just have the one word with no modifiers, with no adjectives, with no descriptors, the word person is what this treatise is going to talk about. And it's going to go for days. Like, I'm pretty sure this video is going to be long. I may quit it and put it in 2 parts. Anyway, as of April 2025, this page is the most important piece that I have ever written or anything in my entire line of research. As of April 2025, this page is the most important piece that I have ever written on anything in my entire line of research, and will completely transform the life of anyone who takes the time to understand it and realize the implications that it has on their life. This is true because you'll be able to walk into a passport office and speak sense, right? You'll be able to talk about jurisdiction and stuff. You'll be able to speak law, jurisdiction, because you understand what the words mean. See, because you can't file your paperwork. You can't do anything if you don't know what the words mean. And they don't want you to know what the words mean. This page will attempt to walk through the entire timeline of the word person and the word persons, the word people, etc. For newcomers, this may sound ridiculous or strange, but I assure you that it's not. And so do I. Also, he talks about people getting upset. And okay, I can see where maybe but really you're going to be triggered by words. And basically all he's doing is looking through this. And see, shortly you're going to see why I make that statement, right? I'm just playing, but I'm not playing. We all niggas now, right? United States Constitution. Now, here's the other thing. Constitution for the United States of America, I absolutely support and will defend and uphold that document to the best of my ability forever until I'm dead. And I'll instruct my sons to do the same, and their sons, with violence if necessary. I am not if you want to be a real radical, ask the Ramones, right? If you're down the Ramones, being a radical isn't being a socialist. Being a radical is being an American. You want to be really radical? Be a fucking American citizen. They don't like American citizens. They try to enslave and confuse American citizens. Who is the they that I'm talking about? If you do not know who they is, go someplace else. Like, shut this fucking video off and just take off. All right. The current situation. This is 2, Roman numeral 2. He's got it's nicely outlined here. And of course, just go to williamsandwilliamslawfirm.com and find a treatise on the word person. If I put the link here, I'm sure the tubes will get upset. Anyway, in today's world, the term person is so far gone and so far beyond confusion that it is in a state of complete oblivion. The definition of oblivion is the state of being unaware or unconscious of what is happening. Now, here's the thing. There's another definition of the word oblivion that you might want to know. You might want to take a second and just understand it. Go look it up. But the word oblivion, did I already delete that? I think I already deleted that. Oh, no, I didn't. Here it is. Oh, no. It's not there. It's in that long folder. Maybe it's there. Yes, there it is, in fact. Okay, the word oblivion, the state of being unaware or unconscious of what's happening. But number two, historical and in law, amnesty or pardon. Interesting that has another definition. Oblivion, amnesty or pardon. Okay, anyway, let's go back to this. No one is even aware that the word does not mean anything even remotely close to any assumptions that they may have on the subject. Let's review some of the current definitions of the word. In Title 8 of the United States Code, person is defined in 8 USC. And see, here's the thing. 8 USC, easy to remember, right? And it, by the way, that code applies. That is positive law. 8 USC 1101. So they do it easy like that. So if you can remember 8 USC 1101, okay, and this is B3, but just 8 USC 1101. You should go read that actually from top to bottom. But here is B3. The term person means an individual or an organization. That's simple. Okay. So let's see here. The term individual is not specifically defined and thus defaults to the dictionary definition. And here is one from Black's Fourth. We like Black's Fourth. The noun, wait a minute. As a noun, this term denotes a single person as distinguished from a group or class, and also very commonly a private or natural person as distinguished from a partnership, corporation, or association. But it is said that this restrictive signification is not necessarily inherent in the word, and that it may, in proper cases, include artificial persons. That's the State v. Bell Telephone Company. Remember when Ma Bell did everything? Anyway, State v. Bell Telephone Company, 36, Ohio State, 310, 38, AmRep 583. All right. As you can see, the definition above allows it to also include artificial persons. Okay, so there's natural persons, there's artificial persons, there's corporate persons, there's U.S. persons. Okay, and finally, we have the term organization from the Title 8 definition of person, which is defined at 8 USC 1101 at A28. The term, like I said, just go read 1101. The term organization means, but is not limited to, right? Okay, so see that, but is not limited to, right? Especially when they say includes, but is not limited to, right? If they say includes, excludes. So if they put includes, everything after the word includes is what it includes and nothing else. The term organization, you know this already, I hope. The term organization means, but is not limited to, an organization, corporation, company, partnership, association, trust, foundation, or fund. And you should look up those words, especially organization, corporation, company, partnership, association. But these words, trust, foundation, or fund. All right. That and includes a group of persons, whether or not incorporated, like your organization doesn't have to be a corporation, doesn't have to be incorporated, doesn't have to have paperwork, doesn't have to fucking be recognized by the United States Corporation. Permanently or temporarily associated together with joint action on any subject or subjects. Any fucking thing can be an organization. Right? Crouton and Mone's House of Math is definitely an organization. Slow Jamistan is an organization, but it's more than just an organization. All right. Okay. So this is pretty wild, by the way, because organizations can get passports. Let me repeat that because it sounds vaguely important. because organizations can get passports. Your organization needs two things. It needs a name and it needs a number. For every person, there is a name and number. A person without a name and number isn't much of a person. Okay. They are persons under Title 8, which which is all about nationality. And that's go read Title 8, but go read 1101. Anyway, it's the basis of the passport system. You could literally open a company in the District of Columbia, which would make it a U.S. citizen under 8 USC 1401A, get it an EIN or an SSN, right, for it, and then go do a DS11 and get a passport for it. The DS11 was the little gold form. All right, and then on there you are going to want a endorsement that's also 11. Anyway, you could also open a business in American Samoa or the Swain Islands. Then the business itself would be a non-citizen national of the United States under 8 USC 1408. So you could have a whole new business with all different passports and types of passports. Not even kidding. We currently have some people testing this. Immigration is literally complete bullshit. Did you need to write that, Brendan? Yes, you did. Anyway, we also should look at the definition of person from other places, right? A great spot to look would be the Internal Revenue Code, right? That's the tax code, which again, Title 26, not positive law, which is the word is described at 267701A1. That 267701 should be familiar to you, by the way. The term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. The above definition of individual is something we'll dive into later on this page. Yeah, you got to cover that also. But we already know that the term can include artificial entities such as trusts, individuals, corporations, companies, etc. State of Hawaii is a person. United States is a person. Arizona. Arizona State, not a person. State of Arizona, that's a person. Arizona State is a place. But the Hawaii State, that's a place. State of Hawaii, that's a person. Ooh, look, there's a difference. But the whole point of this page is to create a linear timeline to gain a deep and meaningful understanding of these terms. So at this point, we are going to embark on our historical breakdown to understand how we arrive at such a confusing and poorly defined point in our understanding. So again, I'm enunciating and reading each word carefully. Watch this on 2x speed. But the idea here that we don't want to miss is that you need to take a look at what happened in the past to figure out what's going on today, right? How did we get here? You are not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful house. Let's see here. 3. The organization, this is Roman numeral 3. The organization, wait a minute. The original definition of citizen and people. All right, let's take a look at that because those words change over time. We know this. So let's take a look at the history, and maybe a little etymology would be good for citizen and people also. Shall I do some etymology? Let's go to etymology online and just stick citizen in there just for the sheer shits and giggles of it. Let's see here. Etymology online. Yes, online etymology dictionary. Thank you very much. Look at this, all at your fingertips. You have no excuse anymore. And now let's stick in the word. Let's go with citizen. This is me trying to hit copy because my keys are sticky. All right, so let's see here. We stick it in there and let's see what etymology online has to say about citizen. Citizen. All right. Circa 1300, citizen, spelled very differently, Citisein, feminine, citizen, inhabitant of a city or town, from Anglo-French, citizen, Citizen, a city dweller, a town dweller. Citizen, Old French. Citizen, 12C modern English from citoyen. Really, Citoyen, citoyen. From city, see city, and ain, see ain. According to Middle English compendium, the SZ in Anglo-French presumably replaced the earlier in Old English words. Let's see here, such as Schützend and Sistever. All right. Anyway, sense of free man or inhabitant of a country, member of a state or nation, not an alien. All right. Is late 14th century, meaning private person. Oh, look, citizen, private person. What? As opposed to a civil officer or a soldier, right? Because we make distinctions now. We don't consider citizens and soldiers to be the same thing. Oftentimes, citizen soldiers are different things. A soldier is not a civilian. A citizen is usually considered a civilian. Now, of course, a soldier can be a citizen. Okay. Let's see, from 16, as the title 1795, wait a minute, I gotta restart over again. Since the freeman or inhabitant of a country, member of a state or nation, not an alien, is late 14th century, meaning private person, as opposed to civil officer or soldier, is from circa 1600. As a title, 1795, from French, during the French Revolution, citoyen was used as a Republican alternative to Monsignor. Or Monsieur, not Monsignor, Monsieur. Monsieur. Citizen's arrest, one carried out by a private person without a warrant, allowable in certain cases, is recorded from 1941. Citizens banned radio from 1947. Citizen of the world, late 15th century, translates Latin civum totius mundi, and in the Greek, it's cosmopolitus. He is not a citizen who is not disposed to respect the laws and obey the civil magistrate. He is certainly not a good citizen who does not wish to promote by every means in his power the welfare of the whole society of his fellow citizen. That's Adam Smith, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. It goes on more, but cit, inhabitant of a city, colloquial shortening of citizen, 1640s, especially a London cockney. That would be a cit, as contrasted to a countryman or gentleman, usually with some measure of opprobrium. Johnson defines it as a pert low townsman, a pragmatical trader. All right, citizenship, status, rights, privileges, and responsibilities of a citizen, 1610s from citizenship. Civility, the status of a citizen, from Old French. All right, anyway, go read that. Citizen read, right? Oh, collectively, right? Citizens collectively. Go read, go see. And then we'll quit there. Okay, cosmopolite, there's more here. Netizen, a user of the internet. Denizen, denizen, early 15th century, a citizen, a dweller, an inhabitant, especially legally established inhabitant of a city or borough. A citizen as distinguished from a non-resident, native, or foreigner, a denizen. The Anglo-French denizine, Old French denzine, one within. Okay. Like I said, it's a word game. You got to know what the words mean. It's as simple as that. How are you going to win a word game if you don't know what the words mean? All right, let's get back to this. Okay, so this is 3, the original definition of the word citizen and people. Section 1 of the Naturalization Act of 1790 is where our journey begins, with a text that reads, all right, so we're going all the way back to back in time. Let's see, 1990 would be 200 years, so 235 years later. Let us take a look at what this text reads. And this is why you write shit down. Faintest pen stroke better than best memory. And even when you write stuff down, the demons, the others, the naughty ones, will try and confuse you and make you forget what the words mean, or change the meanings of the words temporarily, just long enough to extract wealth from you. Be it enacted by the state and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that any alien, being a free white person, who shall have resided within the limits and under the jurisdiction of the United States for the term of 2 years, may be admitted to become a citizen thereof on application to any common law court of record in any one of the states wherein he shall have resided for the term of 1 year at least, and making proof to the satisfaction of such court that he is a person of good character, and taking the oath or affirmation prescribed by law to support the Constitution of the United States. No, and that's there. It ends with an ellipse. There's more, but the idea is that do you hear America in there? Did you hear United States of America? Did you hear the jurisdiction of the United States of America, or just United States? Even though this is 1790. Yeah, see, because back in the day, United States used to mean United States of America, and they were synonymous. Now, United States is not. And this is one of the ways they snuck it in there. But anyway, United States is the corporation. United States of America is a country, is an area, is 50 states, 48 of them on the North American continent. Well, technically, 49 of them on the North American continent. 48 of them stuck together contiguously, and then Alaska way up there north. Anyway, for those of you that are new to my research, the term resident is quite important in the above quote because it is specifically used to reference. Wait a minute. Wow. Okay. For those of you that are new to my research, the term resident is quite important in the above quote because it is specifically used to reference the aliens prior to their 2 years being complete. Resident means foreigner or immigrant. Yeah, go look that up because you think it means one thing and it means another. So when they're calling you a resident, which is why people are residents during their 2-year period while they are naturalizing. The term alien is defined at 8 U.S.C. 1101 A3. Again, 8 U.S.C. 1101, you should probably spend the time to read it. You should read all 8 U.S.C., but especially 1101. The term alien means any person not a citizen or national of the United States. All right. I'm a non-resident alien when it comes to Washington, D.C., but I'm not an alien that because turns out there's no way to get around being a national of the United States. Now, there's a state national. There's a U.S. national. So it turns out there's two kinds of nationals. There's the non-citizen national of American Samoa and Swain Island. And then there's the non-citizen. And see, this thing, put it in your document that you're talking about. When you're talking about being a national, define what you mean. And then define what you mean and make sense of it. Right? So when you read all of this, then you can say, okay, when I use the word national, what are you referring to? I'm saying state national. I'm saying a man or a woman. Maybe you don't want to use the word person. Born on the land in a certain area known as, or in a place commonly called, whatever kind of language you want to use. I was born in a place commonly called Illinois. My sons were born in a place commonly called Hawaii. They were not born in a legal fiction called State of Hawaii. I was not born in a legal fiction called State of Illinois. I was born on the land in Illinois State. Okay, so what were the, and you should let some people know this. Well, I should let some people know, and I have. I sent letters to the FTC. I sent letters to the Secretary of State. I sent letters to the IRS. I sent letters to the Secretary of State of Illinois. I sent letters to the Secretary of State of Hawaii. I sent letters to, right? I'll let people know. And then in your letters, you might include the terms, notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. So when I informed these people, they should have noticed the principals if they're agents, and if they're principals, they should have noticed their agents. Cops are agents, judges are agents, many elected officials are agents. Okay, so what were the initial points that needed to be met in order to gain citizen of the United States, if not born in the state, if not born in a state of the Union? Well, let's break down the above quote by specific point. Let's see. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Was previously an alien, non-citizen, non-national. All right. Meets the criteria. 2, meets the criteria of being a free white person. The hell do that mean? Now, when I went to jail, by the way, they put me down as white. Has resided, meaning that they are not a citizen of a state yet, in the U.S. for 2 years as an immigrant, with 1 year in the state of application. All right, so you need to at least be in one. Like, say you've been here for 2 years, and now you want to be, I don't know, a resident of California or a citizen of California. You have to have lived in California at least one of those 2 years. Better yet, 2 of those 2 years. But anyway, okay. 4, demonstrates good character and swears an oath to support the U.S. Constitution. U.S. Constitution, maybe you want to support the United States of America Constitution, the Constitution for the United States of America. The U.S. Constitution is the corporate constitution, and I'm not part of that corporation. So I'm not sure why I should support the U.S. Constitution, other than the fact that it's kind of a mirror. It's kind of, sort of like the United States of America, all right, the Constitution for the United States of America. But there are some subtle and important differences that you may want to discover at a later date, at some other time. Wow, we're not even 1/8 the way through this document. How long have I been going? Let's see here, 46 minutes. Never even get partway through this thing. All right. But so read it for yourself. But I'm doing this for my own edification, and because I can put on a set of headphones, close my eyes, and listen to myself talk about this document. And a lot of times that helps because I can pause and then think. Right? But anyway, I'm reading it to you for the same reason. All right, so anyway, demonstrate good character, guys. Now, it's important to keep in mind, all right, I'll read it the way he would say it. Now, it's important to keep in mind that there was only state citizenship at this time, and the term U.S. citizen or United States citizen was not a specific and separate type of citizenship at this time. This didn't happen until 1873. 1873. What happened in 1873? What did they do to silver in 1873, or was that 1872? Okay, so the above description is how someone would become a citizen of a state of the Union. Okay, and that's in all caps, by the way. So let's see here. We'll cover more about that later, and it might be best to read through this page 2 to 3 times and make sure you understand the entire timeline. See, that's not a joke, and many people don't do this. A lot of times I'll watch a video or read a document one time, and then a second time, and then the third time I start taking notes. And sometimes it'll be 3 or 4 times, and then I start taking notes. And then sometimes I take notes, and then I read it again, or watch it again, or whatever. Right? You want to put the information in. If you just watch something one time or read something one time, there is plenty of data that says, I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how high your IQ is, I don't care what memory courses you've taken. If you only read it once, you're going to forget most of it within a week. All right. So let's look in Black's Law 4th edition to figure that out. Oh, wait, what did I just read? Okay. We'll cover more about that later, and it might be best to read this through to understand the entire line. So what is the definition of free white person? Let's look into Black's Law 4th edition and figure that out. You gotta know what the words mean. 1, meaning all persons belonging to the European races then commonly counted as white and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they may have immigrated. 2. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Celtic, Celtic. Wait, what? It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns. What's Magyar? That's the Hungarians. It includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns, and the Basques, and the Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, and mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed Slav and Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia. A Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free and white person. How's that for specific? Well, hello. Let's see here. And this is ex parte Shabhid. You can read all that. United States v. Cardizan. Let's see. And it's a long, like I said, it's a long site, and I'm not going to try and read it. But anyway, nor a native-born Filipino. They literally mention native-born. That's because of Hawaii, by the way. Nor a native-born Filipino, nor a native of India who belonged to the Hindu race. It says that right there in plain English. And that's, what is it? Karatif Ram Samras v. United States. So, right, they made some rulings and decisions. This is stare decisis, has already been decided. I like the fact that they single out Filipinos out of the whole, all the Pacific Island, not Indonesians, not Thai, not Vietnamese, not Cambodians, Filipinos. Anyway, okay. This above definition, and okay, this is in all caps and underlined, by the way. So just understand that what I'm about to read has import. Look, there's a little cat here bothering me. What has the cat come to say? Why, here is a little kitty cat. And this would be the little kitty cat who has come to say hi and bother me a little bit. There he is. Okay. This above definition and the 4 points above it was the exact and laser precise definition as to citizenship. That citizenship is what made up the definition of we the people in the Constitution. A resident or immigrant was not considered one of the people until their citizenship was established. This is why they were considered residents. I'm not sure if the term persons was used for these people at this time, but you can see where we are going on this page. If they were not part of we the people, then they were not considered people. Now understand, back in the day, there's a bunch of us living on this planet, and some of the people on the planet didn't consider other people on the planet to be people. You can't enslave people if they're this. You wouldn't enslave someone that's the same as you. So you have to make them less than you. Otherwise, it's difficult to enslave them. What is this kitty cat doing? What are you doing? Oh, what? Why, I see that. I can see. There's nothing over there for you to eat, I promise. Okay. Let's see here. So yeah, understand this, and then understand that what we had in United States of America, the several states, was we had these people that they didn't consider to be people because they had dark skin. They considered them fit to be slaves. All right. And minds have changed since then. What is Kitty Cat doing? Stop it. You. If you want to go down, you can go down. I'll put you down. I have no issue with that. Go right at it. Go ahead. There he is. All right. Okay. Introduction. The introduction of the term persons. That's with the S. Okay. I'm sure the term was used prior to 1857, and this entire research of me regarding this word continues even to this day. But the term person is a very sharply and explicitly defined and delineated in the case Dred Scott v. Sanford. Okay, Dred Scott, you got to know Dred Scott. I made my sons read Dred's. Well, actually, the older boy did. I'm not sure if the younger boy, if that was made part of his education or not. I tried to make it, but that doesn't mean he read it. But I made the older boy write me a report and understand what the fuck Dred Scott was about. All right, a rather important case. The other ones that you need to understand and read in your homeschool or for your children are the slaughterhouse cases. But Dred Scott, kind of an important case to understand what was going on. Well, we had Dred Scott saying, hey, I want to be a citizen of that state. And they're saying, nah, you can't be a citizen of the United States because you're black. Boils down to. Anyway, in this case, which is regarding a released slave, that would be Dred Scott, to gain citizenship of a state. Wait, in this case, which is regarding a released slave attempting to gain citizenship of a state, we have the following quotes. Bold words and underlines added to bring attention to specific words. All right, pay attention. These are just 4 quotes that he picked out of that whole freaking case. But they're kind of important. And some of them are a little longer than others. But it's kind of important that you understand this part. Okay, the words people of the United States and citizens are synonymous terms and mean the same thing. I'm going to repeat that. The words people of the United States and citizens are synonymous terms and mean the same thing. They both describe the political body who, according to our Republican institutions, and by the way, you are guaranteed a Republican form of government, not a socialist, communist form of government, but a Republican form of government. But according to our Republican institutions, form the sovereignty and who hold the power and conduct the government through their representatives. Let me read that again. They both describe the political body who, according to our Republican institutions, form the sovereignty and who hold the power and conduct the government through their representatives. Now, that's what you're supposed to do. The people are supposed to have these elected representatives and that govern for them. So you don't have to. One less thing, right? Okay. They are what we familiarly call the sovereign people. And every citizen is one of this people and a constituent member of this sovereignty. The question before us is whether the class of persons, and this is an important term, right? Not he underlines person, but there's a class of persons, right? Title 26 applies to a class of persons. Are you part of that class? When I figured out that I was not part of that class, I quit paying taxes because I didn't owe the taxes. I'm not getting away with anything. I was paying taxes that I didn't owe because the class of persons that are described in Title 26 was not this living man. Also, didn't apply to the ins legis. But anyway, all right. The question before us is whether this class of persons described in the plea in abatement compose a portion of this people and are constituent members of this sovereignty. Right? Are they? Because that comes with a question mark. We think they are not. And that they are not included and were not intended to be included under the word citizens in the Constitution and can therefore claim none of the rights and privileges which that instrument provides for and secures to the citizens of the United States. On the contrary, they were not at the time considered, on the contrary, they were at the time considered as a subordinate and inferior class of beings. They don't use the word man. They don't use the word woman. right? Beings, an inferior class of beings, who had been subjugated by the dominant race and who, whether emancipated or not, yet remained subject to their authority and had no rights or privileges but such as those who held the power and the government might choose to grant them. That's the condition you're in today. They can take those rights and privileges away at any time. And sometimes they're not even elected. ATF can say, oh, well, that's illegal now. In the opinion of the court, this is 3, in the opinion of the court, the legislature and histories of the times and language used in the Declaration of Independence show that neither the class of persons who had been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they had become free or not, were then acknowledged as part of the people, nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument. Declaration of Independence is what they're talking about. It is difficult at this day to realize the state of the public opinion in relation to that unfortunate race which prevailed in the civilized and enlightened portions of the world at the time of the Declaration of Independence. And when the Constitution of the United States was framed and adopted, but the public history of every European nation displays it in a manner too plain to be mistaken. Notice again, the Constitution of the United States. That's not the Constitution for the United States of America. That's the Constitution of the United States. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the corporation. All right. However, can't be because this right here was before 1873, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 1857. So the corporation hadn't been created yet. So notice the verbiage, because now when you say Constitution for the United States, that can be differentiated between, because at the time, Constitution for the United States, there wasn't another Constitution. It was just the United States of America, right? And then they did the hanky-panky in 1873, when we now have this thing that kind of sounds like this thing that you were used to, but it's not the same. Okay, in the opinion of the court, the legislation and histories of the times and the language used in the Declaration of Independence show that neither the class of persons who had been imported as slaves nor their descendants, whether they had become free or not, were then acknowledged as part of the people, nor intended to be included in the general words used in that memorable instrument. It is difficult at this day to realize the state of public opinion in relation to that unfortunate race, which prevailed in the civilized and enlightened portions of the world at the time of the Declaration of Independence and when the Constitution of the United States was framed and adopted. But the public history of every European nation displays it in a manner too plain to be mistaken. They had, for more than a century before, been regarded as beings of an inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his benefit. Think about that. They reduced them to slavery for their benefit. They're not even people, right? They shouldn't. Right? Okay. This is racism, institutionalized racism, because you got to understand, in the courts of Europe, there were many Negroes, and there's this whole other nation of Africa where there were sultans and kings and emperors whose wealth dwarfed what the Europeans had. Anyway, But the point being is that at this point, the peculiar institution was a thing. And the Christians and many others justified the fact that these aren't even men. And if you go read this thing, go look it up. Go ask ChatGPT. How many times the word slave mentioned in here? And in what context? See, this is the beautiful thing now with ChatGPT, with AI. Yeah. Go find out what it has to say about slavery in this book. But anyway, the idea is that for 100 fucking years or more, they were considered less than people. So you got to understand, because you're trying to look at a lot of documents and a lot of things with the mindset of a modern American or a modern U.S. citizen. And that's not the way they were thinking back then. And in fact, this whole thing about, having unalienable rights and consenting and so forth, this is a whole new kind of thinking. Because in the past, you did what the king said. Period. You did what the emperor said. If the king had a hand or a baron or whatever it was under him, who was supposedly had the authority of the king, you did what they fucking said. Right? Okay. And then there's this whole other thing where now there's laws and there's documents. And we reached the age of enlightenment. We're starting to realize, wait a minute, they're all men, and all men are created equal. Right? Because when they were talking about all men being created equal, they weren't talking about the Negro. They were talking about white men, and you were supposed to understand that. Just like one of the things that one of my sons figured out back in the day, the recipe for cement. They just said water. They didn't tell you it was supposed to be salt water, because salt water will react with other port, right? Which is why their cement was superior. Okay, that's just one thing. Eggs. You read a recipe today, I don't have to tell you they're chicken eggs. You can use duck eggs if you want. You're not going to use an ostrich egg, because if the recipe calls for eggs, you just assume it's chicken eggs. All right, so using that same logic and reasoning, they just assume right, that the Negro was not fit. That was not was so far inferior that they had no rights that the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery for his own benefit. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and traffic whenever a profit could be made by it. This opinion was at the time fixed and universal. And in the civilized portion of the white race, it was regarded as an axiom in morals as well as in politics, which no one thought of disputing or supposed to be open to dispute. Wait a minute. Did I skip a line? I may have skipped a line. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and traffic. So there it is. States' rights, property rights. That was much of the reason for the Civil War. Not so much freeing this, but the idea that if you have property, you have the right to control that property. This is not a communist country. Again, you're guaranteed a Republican form of government, and your property is not subject to tax. It's not subject, right? But wait a minute, you have property taxes. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, and we'll start with reduced to slavery for his own benefit. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and traffic whenever a profit could be made by it. This opinion was at the time fixed and universal. Right? Everybody thought this way. In the civilized portion of the white race, it was regarded as an axiom in morals as well as in politics, which no one thought of disputing or supposed to be open to dispute. And men in every grade and position in society daily and habitually acted upon it in their private pursuits, as well as in matters of public concern, without doubting for a moment the correctness of this opinion. Right? Just a fact. That's life. Right? Okay. And I can tell you, changing gears just a little bit, there are still people that consider you and me in this manner. Right? Not fit. They're just useless eaters, human resources used to make themselves wealthy, because the ignorant are so ignorant and profane that you enslave them for their own benefit. You take some of their, right? Okay. And then you have this fucked up religion where they do a lot of things that I can't even talk about here on the tubes. And it's just part of their thinking. This is just how they act. They think nothing of some of the things that horrifying things that they do to the most weak among us, because they're not even humans. They're just, right? It's garbage. It's filth. Okay. We've slowly and incrementally, slowly but surely, we have gotten to the point where we realize, well, that's not right when you're talking about this whole race that lives on mostly in Africa, and those that were already here, and we'll talk about that's coming up here. Notice he talks about the Moors, but the idea and the fact that the Moors understood that they were just dark Indians on the North American continent. And that certainly didn't all come in slave ships. And again, I've talked about it before. They lost the war, and they were enslaved. That's how it worked back then. You lose the war, you either get slaughtered, hung, or you have to. You're going to be enslaved, and your women and children are also going to be enslaved. And then for a couple of generations, and then they make free the slaves and then make them part of the society that they're enslaved to. But they're not going to do that immediately because they want obedient slaves. And they want obedient citizens. Anyway. Okay. And in no nation was this opinion more formally fixed and more uniformly acted upon than by the English government and English people. They not only seized them on the coast of Africa and sold them or held them in slavery for their own use, but they took them as ordinary articles of merchandise to every country where they could make a profit on them, and were far more extensively engaged in this commerce than any other nation in the world. They also became the first one to decide that, slavery probably isn't right. And they did something about it. Englishmen and American men, white men. Okay. But there are two causes in the Constitution which point directly and specifically to the Negro race as a separate class of persons and show clearly that they were not regarded as a portion of the people or citizens of the government then formed. So back in the day, the black man, the Negro, the dark skin, they weren't part of the United States as citizens. Okay, Houston, we have a problem. And so what they had to do was fix this problem when they woke up and realized that slavery was reprehensibly, morally wrong, but reprehensible behavior, right? Slavers. And it never went away. The peculiar institution never went away. They just put it underground. And then here, some very clever men used these documents to enslave everybody, make money off of everybody, and turn all the Americans. Like I said, you want to be a radical? Become an American citizen. Right? You want to be one of the sheep? Be a U.S. citizen that votes for one or the other. Okay, carefully read the above quotes over and over, taking time to clear up any words and terms you don't fully understand. Just take a moment. These 4 quotes will completely change your life when you take the time to realize that they are talking about entirely different classes when they say people versus when they say persons. All right, so there's classes of persons and classes of people, actually. And people and persons are no longer synonymous. Because when you think of people, you think of living men and women. You think of men with wombs and men without wombs. You think of the flesh and blood, the living. Okay, that's not what we have here in the law when we're talking about persons. In fact, go back again and read the United States Code and look for the words man or woman. You won't find them. You're going to find individuals and people and persons. Okay, as is made crystal clear in the above quotes, men and women that were not considered people, as we the people, were considered persons in an effort to delineate them sharply and explicitly from the actual citizenship or the actual citizenry. Now, let's pause for a second and talk about racism, classism, etc. Every group prides itself on strength and inclusivity. Every group prefers members of its own and shuns outsiders. That's human nature. Oops, that's what the next statement says. This is literally human nature. So anyone saying that our country is nothing more than a Ku Klux Klan circle jerk session needs to take a deep breath and realize that the world was different back then. Okay, and you also need to realize that Americans, Europeans, Africa, doesn't matter, right? Like attracts like, and they like to be exclusive. Right? You can go to neighborhoods and go to San Francisco. Is there a Chinatown? Go to Chicago. Is there a Chinatown? Go to freaking Miami. Is there a Chinatown? How about New York? Is there a Little Italy? Is there a Little Italy in how about Greektown in Chicago? Like people like to get together. If you travel, you will find there are enclaves where there are expatriate Americans. There are enclaves where there are expatriate Israelis. There are enclaves where there is expatriate Germans. Germans are everywhere, but right? Because like people, even on Maui, I used to hang around with the Germans. There's a bunch of Germans that got together, especially Oktoberfest, right? Ate good German food and spoke German to each other and drank beer. And I was included because my grandmother was German. I am a direct descendant of Germans. And German was an easy, like High German. I apparently spoke that in a past life or something, because that was supposed to be a hard language, and I picked it up almost. It's like remembering more than learning. Anyway, if you take time above and beyond the shocking few quotes above, I don't find any of those quotes shocking because I've read Dred Scott and I made my sons read Dred Scott. But for some people, maybe what I just read was shocking. Right? But you need to understand that, yeah, we had a problem, and they tried to fix the problem, and they saw an opportunity in fixing the problem, and they enslaved everybody. And then they made a system of bonding, and then they didn't tell us about any of it. And now we're finding it out. And so, of course, what are they doing? They're about to change the system. Freaking slaves woke up. We got to change things. All right. Or they're going to make it more or less the same system, but they're going to use digital currency that they can program. And they figured out, okay, we could control commerce. We control the currency. We'll control them. Right. The other thing is control the food. Anyway. And then there's these pesky guys like Brandon Joe Williams and Crouton Ramon and a bunch of others that just aren't having it and started reading the law and decided, no, wait a minute, I'm a free man. Right? And they're like, oh, no, you're not. Okay, you're free? All right. You still want to be free? You still want to be free? You still want to be free? Yes, I still want to be free. You cannot scare me back onto the plantation. You can never scare, right? Okay, I'm the last slave in my generations. Right? Unless things go far awry, right? But I woke up, and my sons are now free men. 4- and 5-star passports. Soon to have 5-star passports. Soon to have trust. Soon to have names that they control. Able to do commerce. Able to buy land, and that land will be alloidial titled, and it will be American land. Well, assuming that it's on the North American continent inside those boundaries. Right? But I can put a flag anywhere I want and call this land America. And sometimes they'll back it up. Anyway, let us continue. If you take the time above and beyond the shocking few quotes above and actually go and read Dred Scott v. Stanford, you will see that the honorable justices in that case, including the Honorable Justice Roger B. Taney, Roger B. Taney, who gave the final opinion and judgment in Dred Scott v. Stanford, all did tremendous without research, without computers, right? They had to go to libraries and books, but they all did, and believe me, they had clerks and other people helping them. But anyway, they all did tremendous background research and extensively inspected the laws of each state and territory and stretched their research all the way back to the English Empire circa the early 1700s. You need to go back even further than that. Go back to the 1600s and the Articles of Confederation and and some of the documents that they wrote for Virginia and so on when they first got to the North American continent. Some of those documents pretty amazing, pretty enlightened, actually. And you can tell they don't want you reading them because they used to be online and now you can't get them online anymore. They've been deleted or removed or whatever. Like the 1606. Anyway. I understand. See, but we've got the Wayback Machine and this thing called screenshots. Or you can actually go to a law library and go find the documents. But they don't want you reading them. And as soon as they start doing stuff like that, bing, that's when I go, I ought to probably read that. Okay, I understand that in today's world, all this information is shocking and may even morally disgust you. No, but maybe it does you. But I assure you that if you take the time to understand this information without emotional intervention and without swan diving into a pool of philosophical morality, you will start to see the big picture and how this all relates to you and me now in today's world. This is 100% relevant. How am I doing on time? Already an hour. Oh my God. All right. And like I said, I'm what am I at? I'm gonna estimate that that's probably an eighth of the way through the document now, perhaps an eighth. Okay, we're at number 5, the birth of the federal U.S. citizenship category and the birth of the nation of the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is in fact a nation, and I think is Trump going to change that to District of America? Like I said, things is changing, folks, and they have no obligation to tell you about the changes. You want to know, you got to find out for yourself. You want to know the stuff that I'm reading to you, you got to find out for yourself. Nobody's telling. They are certainly not going to put this in public schools. They're certainly not going to make this part of the senior curriculum. They're not even going to put this in most universities. They don't want you knowing this shit. Like, they really don't want you knowing this stuff. After Dred Scott v. Sanford, our motion towards the Civil War accelerated. Remember, that was 1857. It wasn't the sole reason why we entered the Civil War, but it greatly accelerated the motion towards it. I will not argue with that. There was a couple other things, because there were a bunch of people that could see Civil War coming, and they did their best to try to avoid it, and they had the Pope against them. They don't understand, or maybe you do. They don't like Americans. Like I said, you want to be radical? Be an American citizen. Learn about unalienable rights. Learn about the spirituality that goes along with that. And then you have to deport yourself in this way. You can't take part in flash mobs that steal. You can't. There's a lot of things you can't do once you wake up. You have to deport yourself well. Right? You can't be out drinking and carousing and driving around at high speed for no reason. I've never done that. Okay, you got to wake up and govern yourself. Right? You got to find out about your square and stand on it. And then watch how they try to drag you off your square and then try to call you crazy and then conspiracy and then, and then try to beat you down in court. Right? I said, I have the right to travel. No, you do not. I'll never forget that. I most certainly do. Well, where'd you get that? I don't know, the Constitution that you swore an oath to uphold and protect. See, I think of that now, but when I was standing there with a bunch of fucking ignorant slaves laughing at me, a little harder when you're standing in court. But see, now if with all the stuff that I read since then, yeah, she would not have rolled me over the way she did back then. I went home and sulked after that, like 3 days of sulking. Because, okay, but in my defense, I had been in a cold room for more than 12 hours, shivering to death, no food, barely got some water, and then, right, sleep deprived because they get you up at like 2 a.m, so that when you see the judge, she has him, whatever, you're not going to be at your best. and I hadn't seen the sun at that point for months, and it had never gotten completely dark because they never let it get completely dark. Anyway, so the idea being is that I was not at the top of my game, but now drunk and sleepy, right? Right to travel, yeah, it's right there in the Constitution that you supposedly swore an oath to uphold and protect. Even the United States Constitution, never mind the Constitution for the United States of America, right? Yeah, some of you guys are starting to understand because I know some people are watching, but most of them aren't going to watch all of this because they're bored with it already. But some of them will, in fact, watch. And you're right. You're in fucking serious trouble, guys. Like, serious fucking trouble. And there's no end to it. There's no statute of limitations. There's no day that this goes away. And if it doesn't come from me, it'll come from others. Because everybody waking up. Everybody. Okay. Well, coming out of the Civil War was a specific case that was, in Brandon Joe Williams' opinion, the most important case ever done in our country. This case overturned the Dred Scott and Stanford decision. It interpreted the 14th Amendment as being what overturned Dred Scott, because you had to have a constitutional amendment, right? But without its interpretation, that would never have happened. Right? It's the interpretation of the Commerce Clause. So take a look at 15 USC 17 and read the first sentence. Right? Commerce. Your labor is not an article of commerce. Your labor is your property. All right. The case is called the Slaughterhouse Cases, 83 U.S. 36, Supreme Court, 1873. This should be in every homeschool across the United States. Everybody should be familiar with the Slaughterhouse Cases and what they say. You should have at least read a synopsis. And most of you have never read or even heard of the Slaughterhouse Cases, unless you're a fan of Brandon Joe Williams or mine, because I've mentioned it also. All right, Dred Scott, important. Slaughterhouse Cases, kind of important. Right? You got to know your history so you know where you are, so you can be grounded, so you can stand up in a court of law and talk to these fucking pirates. Because that's all they are. Pirates masquerading as judges. Half of them don't even have fucking oaths of office. And you can prove that, but most of you never even ask. And if you walk in there and ask them, they will lie to your face and say that they do when they absolutely don't. Because if you did have a oath of office, there'd be a document that meets the criteria for oath of office. And there isn't a document that I've ever seen from the judiciary courts of the state of Hawaii that meets the criteria. They have no anti-bribery statements. Their signatures are not notarized, etc. The font is fucked up. Anyway, in these series of cases, which had a singular finale, we have the creation of the federal U.S. citizen. Let me put it in quotes, U.S. citizen. Okay. In order for you to get one statement from this credit union, you had to sign a document that said you was U.S. citizen. A lot of Hawaiians, you said, yeah, I'm Native Hawaiian, and you didn't sign your name. You didn't sign your name to Native Hawaiian. Native Hawaiian means U.S. citizen. Does not mean Kanaka Maoli. Okay. In these series of cases, which had a singular finale, we have the creation of the federal U.S. citizen category as an entirely separate category. And not only that, okay, let's just read this. Please carefully read the following quotes where I will again use bold words and underline to bring your attention to specific aspects of the communication from the Honorable Samuel Freeman Miller. Freeman Miller. The guy's name was actually, do you guys really think we're not in a simulation? Really? Anyway, the guy's name is Samuel Freeman Miller. The first section of the 14th article, to which our attention is more specially invited. I love their use of language. They used language back then. And now what do we got? Rappers. Bitches and hoes, y'all. I can't feel my face when I'm with you. Anyway, the first section of the 14th article, to which our attention is more specially invited, opens with a definition of citizenship. Not only citizenship of the United States, but citizenship of the states. No such definition was previously found in the Constitution, nor had any attempt been made to define it by act of Congress. It had been the occasion of much discussion in the courts, but the executive departments and the public journals, but in the public, wait a minute, it had been the occasion of much discussion in the courts by the executive departments and in public journals. It had been said by eminent judges that no man was a citizen of the United States except as he was citizen of one of the states composing the Union. Those, therefore, who had been born and resided always in the District of Columbia or in the territories, though within the United States, were not citizens. Because District of Columbia, yeah, it's surrounded by the United, but it's not part of the United States. That's a foreign invasion. That is where they stuck their flag and their obelisk to let you know that they're not part of North America. And that would mean that they're not part of United States of America or United States of North America. No such thing. Right? Okay, 2. Then, but the bottom line is they're foreign invaders. Hawaiians know this better than anybody, that they are foreign invaders. Okay, they're foreign invaders masquerading and pretending that they're Americans, but they're not. They're U.S. citizens. Many of them wear the tiny hat of a different nation. Those that aren't wearing the tiny hat of a different nation, many of those are returning for the king. And again, why do we have a civil war in the first place? Because the popes and the kings, they hate Americans and they wanted to get Protestants to kill each other en masse. And they succeeded. 600,000. Right? This guy named Robert E. Lee, he knew it was coming. He was trying to avoid it. And he decided to go on the side of the bars and stars, not the stars and stripes. And I have to tell you that back in the day, had I been given the choice which side to fight on, I wouldn't have been fighting on the north side at all. Anyway, those, therefore, who had been born and resided always in the District of Columbia or in its territories, though within the United States, were not citizens. 2, then all the Negro race who had recently been made freemen, not bonded, but freemen, were still not only not citizens, but were incapable of becoming so by anything short of an amendment to the Constitution, which is where we get the 14th Amendment, and which is what Dred Scott said, is that if you cannot be U.S. citizen. Impossible for you to become a state citizen. Impossible. So to remove this difficulty primarily and to establish a clear and comprehensive definition of citizenship, which should declare what should constitute citizenship. Go look up the word constitute and constitutor, by the way, constitution. Go do some etymology on the word constitute. Anyway, should constitute citizenship of the United States and also citizenship of a state. And first clause, okay, I got to read them all over again. Holy fuck, really? All right. To remove the difficulty primarily and to establish a clear and comprehensive definition of citizenship, which should declare what should constitute citizenship of the United States and also citizenship of a state. The first clause of the first section was framed. 3. The first observation we have to make on this clause is that it puts at rest both the questions which were stated to have been the subject of differences of opinion. It declares that persons may be citizens of the United States without regard to their citizenship of a particular state, and it overturns the Dred Scott decision by making all persons born within the United States and subject to its jurisdiction citizens of United States. Doesn't say United States of America, right? And it's just United States. Title case, right? It's not united as an adjective. It's United States as a person, as a noun, as right. United States is not an adjective. United should be an adjective, but it's not. It's capitalized. So United States, that's a thing. That is the main purpose. That its main purpose was to establish the citizenship of the Negro can admit of no doubt. What? That its main purpose was to establish the citizenship of the Negro can admit of no doubt. Okay. The phrase subject to its jurisdiction was intended to exclude from its operation children of ministers. That turns out to be a big damn deal because the courts, even today, they don't fuck with the children of ministers or priests or anyway. To the point where I've seen the children of ministers get away with murder, literally. Negligent homicide. They were really quite drunk at the time, but somebody died. And anyway, the courts, there are those that are immune to statute. There are those that are outside the corporation. And everybody inside the corporation can't seem to understand that there is an outside of the corporation. Anyway, the phrase subject to its jurisdiction was intended to exclude from its operation the children of ministers, consuls, and citizens or subjects of foreign states born within the United States. This should also give you a handle on some of the things that are going on right now with the border crossers. The next observation is more important in view of the arguments of counsel in the present case. It is that the distinction between citizenship of the United States and citizenship of a state is clearly recognized and established. Oh, look, it's two things. Actually, it's more than two things, but it's not the same thing. And they would have you believe that it's the exact same thing, and it's not. Not only may a man be a citizen of the United States without being a citizen of a state, but an important element is necessary to convert the former into the latter. Right? How do we convert a citizen of a state into a citizen of the United States? Well, you got to naturalize. Anyway, he must reside within the state to make him a citizen of it. But it is not only necessary that he should be born or naturalized in the United States to be a citizen of the Union. I read that from the beginning. Let's start from here. Not only may a man be a citizen of the United States without being a state citizen. Oh, wait. See, now I'm putting words in there. Not only may a man be a citizen of the United States without being a citizen of a state, but an important element is necessary to convert the former into the latter. He must reside within the state to make him a citizen of it, but it is only necessary that he should be born or naturalized in the United States to be a citizen of the Union. All right. It is quite clear that there is citizen of the United States and citizenship of a state, which are distinct from each other and which depend upon different characteristics or circumstances in the individual. Why use the word man or woman there? Okay, 5. We think this distinction and its explicit recognition in its amendment of great weight in this argument, because the next paragraph of this same section, which is the one mainly relied on by the plaintiffs in error, speaks only of privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States and does not speak of those citizens of the several states. 6. Of the privileges and immunities of the citizen of the United States and of the privileges and immunities of the citizens of the state and what they respectively are, we will presently consider. But we wish to state here that it is only the former which are placed by this clause under the protection of the federal Constitution, and the latter, whatever they may be, are not intended to have any additional protection by this paragraph of the amendment. I'd go back and read that again. If then there is a difference between the privileges and immunities belonging to a citizen of the United States as such, and those belonging to the citizens of the state as such. The latter must rest for their security and protection where they have heretofore rested, for they are not embraced by this paragraph of the amendment. We're going to have to go look at 9 and 10, aren't we? I believe we are. I'm a ringer, though, because I've read this before. Okay. But see, you really want to understand it? Teach it to somebody else. Read it to yourself. And I'm going to go back and watch this. I'm probably going to have to do this in multiple parts because this thing is so long. He did a hell of a job. Took him 8 days to write this. Might be worth your time to read it. Just saying. Okay. And I'm reading it to you. I'm going to read this whole thing. This is going to be a thing. And I can already see that this would be. I bit off a lot here because it's going to take me a while to read this. Okay, the above quotes have been terribly misunderstood, and this is the exact and specific point of the complete downfall of our country. Please read and reread the above quotes as many times as needed to understand what the Honorable Samuel Freeman Miller was trying to do. Look up his background. He felt very strongly about freeing the slaves and was trying to be explicit in how the 14th Amendment only applied to released Negroes and has nothing to do with free white men. Of the various states of the Union. Oops. I should have just stopped there. But anyway, I'll read that again. He felt very strongly about the freeing of the slaves and was trying to be explicit in how the 14th Amendment was only applied to released Negroes and has nothing to do with free white men of the various states of the Union. If Mr. Miller came back from the dead and were to see what happened from his decision, he would be absolutely pissed. I agree. This is not what he intended at all, and our entire country is one giant fuck-up due to the misunderstanding of this case. You must take time and carefully review all the above quotes over and over again and understand what Mr. Miller was trying to do. Excuse me. Me was you. Not only that, to quote Gilligan, and not only that, I would go and read the entire cases. Go read Dred Scott. Go read some stuff about Dred Scott. There's been volumes written about it. And then go back and read the slaughterhouse cases for yourself, and then read, right, what other people have to say about the slaughterhouse cases. Right? But don't just read what other people have to say about Dred Scott without actually reading Dred Scott, and don't go read the slaughterhouse cases, stuff about the slaughterhouse cases without actually having read the slaughterhouse cases yourself. In other words, don't let people tell you what's in there. Read it yourself so you know what's in there. Right? Kind of like this book over here. There's plenty guys will tell you all kind of shit that's in here that's not in here, and tell you stuff that's that is in here isn't in here. But you'd never know if you didn't read the thing yourself, which is what most of you haven't done. You haven't read. Look, it's not even that thick of a book. All right. Mr. Miller is an honorable man. He clearly says that the 13th and 14th Amendments both apply only specifically to Negroes being released from slavery. So how the fuck it applying to you today? The main and primary reason. Slow down. I gotta take a break. Is what I gotta do. And we'll do this in parts. Because like I said, I'm not even halfway through this document, and my throat is getting, I need more tea, and yeah, anyway. And it's getting late. I just realized that I'm missing sun. I was going to go sit in the sun. You need sun every day. Get sun. And it was kind of cloudy today. So anyway, I'll definitely got to go tomorrow because it's too late to get sun now. And I actually wanted to go down to the pool because I can just hear them down there playing around. And I enjoy watching the kids roughhouse and play and so forth. In Hawaii, we say, what is it? Ala ala keiki. The cries, the children, right? It should make you happy to see the young ones coming up, right? Another generation. Anyway, and then we should educate them. Mathematics, law, words. Anyway, Mr. Miller is an honorable man, and he clearly says that the 13th and 14th Amendments both apply only and specifically to Negroes being released from slavery. The main and primary area of confusion, which essentially destroyed all of America, is the first clause of the 14th Amendment. I will place text below with the key word in bold and underlined. I literally cannot stress this one word enough. All right. 14th Amendment. Here's the all persons. Does that say men or women? Does that say inhabitants? Does that say individuals? Does that say citizens? All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. You need to know what reside means. You need to know what United States means in this sentence. You need to know jurisdiction thereof. You should spend some time dissecting that one deceptively simple sentence. Right? We're going to spend hours on the second word, all persons. Not some of the persons, all persons born or naturalized in the United States. Does that say United States of America? All persons born or natural. What the fuck does naturalized mean? How do you naturalize? All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, do they have subject matter jurisdiction over you? What the fuck does jurisdiction mean? What is that word? Jurisdiction. Jurisdictions. Law and word, speaking law, something. Anyway, thereof are citizens. There's another word you need to spend some time on. I did a little bit of a dive for you there, but citizens of the United States and of the state, capitalized as opposed to lowercase, and of the state wherein they reside. Now, and he writes it over and over again three times in big letters. It says all persons, not people. All persons, not people. All persons, not people. Right? They weren't talking about people. They were talking about persons. And they were referring to the persons. Those would be the freed Negro slaves who were freemen. But not quite. Because they had a status that was kind of in limbo. So what these men were trying to do was remedy the fact. All right. And then what some other men did was bastardize the whole thing so that they could enslave all of you. And Brandon wants to pretend like they didn't do it on purpose. Or maybe he doesn't. I'd love to have a conversation with Brandon Joe Williams someday. Maybe we'll do a video together. Or maybe we'll just have a phone call. But see, he's discovering some things. And I guarantee you he's not liking some of the things that he's discovering. You see, here's what I know about good men. Good men expect other men to be good. And they're not. I hope you can see that Mr. Miller was trying to be quite specific in how himself and the Supreme Court were interpreting the 14th Amendment, meaning none of this has anything to do with white people or state citizens. And had Mr. Miller's decision actually been followed as he set forth, we wouldn't be in the fucking nightmare that we find ourselves in today in America. Fine use of English there, Brendan. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. And there's a time when you should use, and that would be one of the times. Mr. Miller said clearly and without revocation, is that the word I would use? I would have used equivocation, but all right, fine. Mr. Miller said clearly and without revocation that the 14th Amendment applies only and specifically to release Negro slaves. None of this applied to free white men or state citizens. This was a special class of citizenship created to eliminate involuntary servitude. See, and then they brought it right back that there will be no involuntary servitude unless you break the law. So we'll just make some laws for you to break. And then we can make you an involuntary servant. Right? Oh, you traveled with your son from one state to another? Oh, well, I think we can, that's cause for involuntary servitude. Oh, you grew these plants? Oh, I think that's a case for involuntary servitude. Oh, you milked this cow? Oh, I think that's a case for involuntary servitude. And you let them get away with it. See, but that's coming to an end because they're starting to notice that the citizenry is getting a little uppity, getting a little testy, because we see all these treasonous traders not going to jail. Meantime, I travel from one state to another with my son, and that puts me in jail. These people are trafficking organs, trafficking drugs, they don't go to jail. They're breaking the law blatantly right in front of everybody with the "what are you fucking going to do about it" attitude. They don't go to jail. Yeah, see, those people who are supposedly in the courts and the police officers, yeah, they're starting to get a little, I believe they're starting to get a little nervous because they're starting to see, or maybe they're not. Most of them are not smart enough to even be nervous, but they're starting to see that, yeah, there's a whole lot more of us than there are of them. And if they get pissed off enough and they all grab their guns, there's not a fucking thing the Thin Blue Line is going to do. In fact, there's not even a fucking thing the military is going to do. Unless you want to nuke some cities. And I wouldn't put it past them. But really, the entire might of United States Corporation was thrown against a bunch of fucking rice farmers where my sons are right now, and the rice farmers prevailed. Meantime, my family and many other families left blood and bones there. All we got to do is wake everybody up, and we could have a free and peaceful society. But instead, we have a predatory class, and they use the law. Right? Okay. I'm going to read this whole paragraph starting from the top. But I love it. This is so fucking important because it is so fucking important. So let's read it again. Mr. Miller said clearly and without revocation that the 14th Amendment applies only and specifically to released Negro slaves. None of this applied to free white men or state citizens. This was a special class of citizenship created to eliminate involuntary servitude. Mr. Miller was a good man with a good heart who cared very deeply about releasing the Negroes, and if he knew what had become of his judgment, he would explode into a rage the likes of which the world has never seen. We'll see. Being even-tempered is actually a thing. Mr. Miller was not intending the 14th Amendment persons to become the centerpiece of all law, nor was he attempting to replace the original state citizenship enjoyed by free white men, or state citizenship, right? He was simply and only trying to release the enslaved Negroes. You must understand this. This is so fucking important. So fucking important. Okay, another great case that clearly describes the situation, I'm sure you could find more as well if you wanted to, is, there are many cases actually, but this is stare decisis. This has already been decided. They just keep it from you. Right? Now you can ask, ChatGPT. Right? Wait until we get some agents that can do, oh man. Anyway, everything's about to change. This is why everything's about to change. Because they can't hide it anymore. See, Grandma and many others, I think I've heard Yusuf El, I think I've heard Grand Sheikh Tariq Bey, all these guys. You want to hide knowledge from a nigger, put the knowledge in a book, put the book in a library, done. All right, everybody waking up, and you can go ask ChatGPT. All right, another great case. I was just there. Ellen B. Van Valkenburg versus Albert Brown. I like it. Let's see what the Honorable California Chief Justice William T. Wallace. I don't know if I'd call him honorable, but all right. Let's see what the Honorable California Chief Justice William T. Wallace has to say about this situation. Okay, so this is another case, and we're going to just read this one paragraph. This should make things super clear. No white person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction, or born without those limits and subsequently naturalized under their laws, owes the status of citizenship to the recent amendment to the federal Constitution. The history and aim of the 14th Amendment is well known, and the purpose had in view in its adoption well understood. But the history and aim of the 14th Amendment is well known, and the purpose had in view of its adoption well understood. The purpose was to confer the status of citizenship upon a numerous class of persons domiciled within limits of the United States who could not be bought within the operation and naturalization laws because native born and whose birth, though native, had at the same time left them without the status of citizenship. These persons were not white persons, but were, in the main, persons of African descent. Because they weren't all Africans, but most of them. There were some Indians. Well, actually, some Irishmen in there too. But anyway, born without citizenship, who had been held in slavery in this country, or if having themselves never been held in slavery, were the native-born descendants of slaves. Prior to the adoption of the 14th Amendment, it was settled that neither slaves nor those who had been such, nor the descendants of these, though native and free-born, were capable of becoming citizens of the United States. And of course, what case? Dred Scott. The 13th Amendment, though conferring the boon of freedom upon native-born persons of African blood, had yet left them under the insuperable bar as to citizenship. It was mainly to remedy this condition that the 14th Amendment was adopted. An insuperable bar, a bar that cannot be superseded, cannot be crossed. Okay, the 14th Amendment and U.S. citizenship after around 1870 to 1873 had nothing to do with the actual white state citizens which made up we the people. That should be perfectly clear. Had nothing to do with state citizens, had nothing to do with actual white state citizens. Now, let's go find out what a white state citizen and a few other things. All right, maybe you should go look some of that stuff up. Okay, because black and white, yeah, it actually makes a difference, right? And again, they put down white on my stuff. As an expansive view into the term Negro. Okay, so this is 6. The last I was reading was 5, obviously. So anyway, we're on 6, Roman numeral 6 in his treatise. An expansive view into the term Negro. How are we doing on time again? Might be time to stop and listen to it and then go read more. But like I said, I'm not even halfway through this thing. This boy took a long time to write it, and you should honor him by actually spending the time to read it. Okay, now I'm about 20% the way through, maybe 1/5, I'd say. So there's going to be 5 more videos like this of 2 hours each. That's not bad. 10 hours. That's not bad at all. Okay. And again, like I said, I'm going to watch this a couple of times, and I'm going to watch it on 2 times speed, and I'm going to read this while I watch it, and I'm going to enter multiple states when you first wake up in the morning, just before you go to sleep, when you're sober, when you're not sober, when you're stoned, when you're not stoned. Read this stuff and put it in there. Okay. Because it is this one word. And you see how this one word deals with all these other words. And you see that once you understand this and you understand a little history, you can stand on your square that much better. All right, let's take a short break. This is 6, an expansive view into the term Negro. All I'm going to do is throw some tea in my cup, because there was like 2 drops right there, and I need something for my throat. I've been reading for 2 hours and talking for 2 hours, so it's going to be a little bit of tea that I need. Yeah, it's actually getting dark. Holy crap. No pool for me today. A little bit of tea for me. Tea. Delicious tea. This is a delicious tea made of multiple yerba mates, a little bit of peppermint. What else did I put in here? Oh, a little bit of green tea and a little bit of jasmine tea. But mostly it's mate. Oh, much better. Okay, I'm not going to read, brah. Turn off the light. one of those boomers, even though those are LEDs and they take up nothing. That's you just turn the lights off immediately. Why do you need the lights on? Meantime, I've been around this other generation where every fucking light in the house is on. Anyway, an expansive view into the term Negro. Right. People use the term African American and other terms in an attempt to be kind. But what no one realizes is that the term African American basically enslaves anyone who accepts it. Mostly white people do this, let's be honest. Excuse me. What's that? All right, a little more tea. Not too much, because then I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. Anyway, all right. Just enough to wet my whistle and keep my throat lubricated. Okay. I know what you were going to stop it. Okay. Here is the legal definitions of the term Negro from Black's Law, 4th edition. Don't use 10th. Don't use the latest editions. And see, that's when the other thing, go take your Black's 4th edition and then go compare it to the latest edition, or go compare it to even say like 8th or 9th. What words? And so you're going to have to do a lot of reading and so forth. And you could actually ask ChatGPT to compare, or I don't know if it's ChatGPT, but anyway, one of the AIs. What words have been deleted or are not in the new editions that were in the old edition, or that may have been changed, or what's right? Okay. Go look Black's 4th and compare it to others. It turns out there are words that they don't want you to know. Deodam. What do that word mean? The word Negro means a black man. Really? Okay, wait. This seriously. Okay, number 1 and number 2. Okay, so we're going to have these two definitions from Black's Law. First, the word Negro means a black man, one descended from the African race, and does not commonly include a mulatto. It's Felix v. State of 18 ALA 720. But the laws of the different states are not uniform in this respect, some including in the description of Negro one who has 1/8 or more of African blood. Notice how these crazy people, blood means a lot. Sangre means a lot to them. Even Hawaiians, right? Oh, you get 1/8 Hawaiian blood? That's one thing. You get half, it's more thing, right? You only get 16th or 32nd? Maybe we won't give you any land. Anyway, and then we'll talk about what mulatto means. Okay, technically, I'm a mulatto, not a quatrain, racist motherfuckers. Anyway, term Negro means necessarily person of color, but not every person of color is a Negro, Kamala. Term Negro means necessarily person of color, but not every person of color is Negro. That's Rice v. Gong Lum. Apparently some people were having an argument, and one of them was Chinese. Anyway, now let's right away get into the legal definition of the term mulatto to ensure clarification. Again, from Black's 4th. Okay, mulatto. A person that is the offspring of a negress by a white man or a white woman by a Negro. Thurman v. State, 18 LA. In a more general sense, a person of mixed Caucasian and Negro blood, or Indian and Negro blood. That would be a mulatto. Properly, a mulatto, this is definition 2. Properly, a mulatto is a person, one of whose parents is wholly black and the other wholly white. But the word does not always, though perhaps it does generally, require so exactly even a mixture of blood, nor is its signification alike in all the states. In other words, it depends on where you go, what state you're in, how they define mulatto colloquially in various states. But they used to tease me when I was little. You're a mulatto. Yeah, it turns out I am. Anyway, my sons are not technically mulattoes if it's white and white because they're mixed. Because the woman, the mother of their mother was also technically mulatto. because and she was super mulatto because her dad was black and her mom was white. My dad was black, but he was you could tell he had a little bit of extra stuff in there. Then right, and the same thing with both of them. Right, they had some Indian in there and so on. They weren't just super dark, but they were both darker than me. Okay, so let's read this. This is in all caps again. Brandon, if you're going to write in all caps, you need dashes. Just going to say. Right? Because otherwise, if I'm going to read this is I want to make it abundantly clear at this point. Okay, see? Each word by itself. They fuck with you in law like this. So this is written for the slaves that assume that you know how to read this. Right? Because this is how they style their documents, right? This is how they style state of whoever the fuck it is against you, even though the state of whoever the fuck it is a juristic entity, a made-up person. It cannot be harmed. It certainly can't be offended. You can't commit a crime against a juristic entity. You can harm another human. Anyway, I want to make it abundantly clear at this point in the conversation that there are plenty of black races that would not legally fall under the Negro classification. These races are typically and ignorantly called African Americans, which automatically classify them as Negroes, thus stripping them of their ability to be citizens or people. I understand that you are not aware of this strange situation, and groups like the Moorish people will become quite upset if you call them African Americans. The Moorish people teach that they were the culture that was here in America prior to. Yeah, see, they don't just teach this. It's not like we made this shit up. We were here before, and I descend from those people. All right. Anyway. And then some Johnny-come-latelys came along and instituted this government, and they had better technology. And anyway, the rest is history that you never learned. Okay, well, I understand that you are not aware of this strange situation, and groups like the Moorish people will become quite upset if you call them African Americans. The Moorish people teach that they were the culture that was here in America prior to the English takeover, and that this land was originally theirs. They were, to use simple words, that people who to use simple words that people who are new to this information will understand, dark-skinned Indians. Okay, I'll take it. And there's plenty of documents and evidence you can read. Go here in Phoenix, even there are some old bookstores that talk about there are some Indians that see, because there's North America, there are all kind of people here. There are people who came from across the Pacific. There are people that came from the South. There are people that came from the North. There are people that were white. There are people that were brown. There are people that were black. There were people that were quote unquote Indians that we call Indians. There are people that were from Africa. There are all kind of people who came to the North American continent. We've been moving around for ages, and they try to give you this simplified, stupid history that makes it sound like there was nobody here but crazy Indians that didn't know what to do with their land and were just wandering about in teepees and killing buffalo and didn't have any kind of culture or anything more than that. They were just, savages, and the white guys had to come and, teach them a thing or two about how to be men, whatever. Anyway, the idea is the stories were just stories. And we're starting to find out that a lot of the stories about the stories are just stories. I don't know what happened, and most people can't figure out what happened. There's a Jason from Archaics. Okay, something happened, and it probably wasn't that long ago. But we don't know what happened because anybody that was there is dead, and anything that they wrote down has been burned, destroyed, buried, thrown off a ship, etc. We don't know what happened in the past. We have an idea. And then we have all this stuff that was written down. But if you take a look at a lot of the stuff that was written down, they talk about how there were some Indians of very dark complexion. They also talk about some Indians that were giants. I mean, anyway, we don't know what's going on. And then you can get totally sidetracked and we'll skip it. But anyway, the Moorish people, the Moors were here. What is the Moorish language? Moorish Latin. What's Moorish Latin? Spanish. The Moors were here. We start talking about U.S. history. You don't get here like 1600s. 1492 is when Columbus supposedly figured out, or came over. That was some bullshit, also, because he knew and he had maps. The Moors, who were across the Straits of Gibraltar, had an empire that was very wealthy and was feeding them. The kings wanted a piece of the action. You got to remember, those same Moors had conquered Spain. Those same Moors had fed. Anyway, they was in the Americas from like the 700s. That's a few hundred years of history. And what were they doing? Growing food, mostly. What was actually going? Don't know, because any of that history hasn't been written down, or if it was written down, well, it was written down and then destroyed and then cut from us. Anyway, the Moorish people teach that they were a culture that was here in America prior to the English takeover, and that this land is originally theirs. If they were, to use simple words that people who are new to this information will understand, dark-skinned Indians that were here prior to the settling, meaning conquering, from the English culture. I'm not attempting to speak for the Moors or blacks here, and I recommend that you do your own independent research on this subject to understand it for yourself. I am simply a white man, this is Brandon Joe Williams, attempting to shine light on this truth and end this fucking nightmare we've all been living in because of a massive misunderstanding of the words of the Honorable Justice Miller. I agree that we need some education. And he's doing his best to get the word out. He's doing a whole lot more than me, that's for sure. I got 5 people watching here and a couple hundred people on my YouTube channel. 4. Got 5 likes, though. Thanks for the likes. And oh, look, there's some people over here that they're still making comments. Greetings. Joystick ammo? What? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Enjoy your Mother's Day, man. Have a happy Mother's Day. My mom dead. The mother of my children and I speak not at all. My sons speak not at all to the mother of my children. Actually, I'm going to call them and see if they... Yeah, just send a note. Happy Mother's Day. You don't... Anyway. Okay, so the 10,000 words just went through my head. Oops. All right, so let us continue on. I need more. More. Okay. Keep in mind... All right. Keep in mind, I used to have this when I worked in radio, because you got to remember that for, I don't know, how long of my life? 5 years? I used to do 4 hours every morning, Monday through Friday. Actually, that's not true. It was like 2 years. I was a morning show DJ. With an actual morning show DJ where I actually had to like be awake and alive for 5 hours from 5 in the morning to 10 in the morning. And at the end of that time, yeah, my throat would be the same as this is now. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I've been talking, and most people are not used to using their vocal cords, and we're full of all kind of toxins. And then what happens when you're talking and so on, because of the stuff that's in your mouth, it gets into your lymph nodes, and then your body says, "Uh-oh, you got stuff in your lymph nodes." So then it has to make mucus to try and lubricate everything, and that's when you get a frog in your throat. Okay, anyway. Keep in mind that everyone has the right against self-incrimination. Everyone has the right to be innocent until proven guilty. Nothing could be further from the truth in the fucked up system that we have now. Right? This is all ideals. But when the rubber hits the road, none of that. None of fucking that. They held me against my will for 143 days and never once showed me a warrant. Well, they can't show me a warrant because they're administrative. Right? Should have been innocent until I was proven guilty. Nope, they held me the whole time. And what was my crime? Traveling with my son. Because apparently a woman has the right to tell you, right? And they can bring a right. Okay, like I said, the motherfuckers involved in all of this, they're in trouble and they know it. And not from just me. There's many, many, many. And see, they think because of their most worshipful grand masters and their fucking secret handshakes that they're going to get away with everything. And they're not, and they're starting to panic. And like I said, I'm a small fish, right? There are bigger fish with bigger fish to fry, with bigger beefs with some of these people. And they have done atrocious things, and justice is coming. You cannot escape the law. See, here's the thing. I'm going to start making some videos about 5 basic concepts in mathematics and 7 hermetic principles and how they relate to each other. But one of the most basic principles, and you hear it all the time, but they're just paying it lip service because you're thinking that it's statutes. And there are many, many people who are immune to statute. They're above that law. But when it comes to law, land, air, water, no one here in this plane is above the law. You come here and you are subject to the law. When you leave, you will be subject to the law. That's why temptations like money and silver and pussy and food mean nothing to me. Because this is just a short period of time and you will be subject to the law. So a lot of these guys think that somehow, because they know the fucking secret handshake or because they read some stuff, that they're not subject to the law. Because you wrote something and now you're subject to the law. Sorry. Now, you're not subject to laws that the cowards won't enforce. And it turns out that the most of the people that you govern are, in fact, horrifying, ridiculous, sad, scared little cowards that'll sing all day about how free they are and how brave they are. And they'll send their fucking kids off to die for no fucking reason in places that they can't pronounce. But they're not brave. They're cowards. And they know it. Now, you want to staunch up your courage? Get some knowledge in your fucking head. And don't just read it once. You're going to have to know it. Like I said, it's Mother's Day. The ranting never ends. But it turned out, look around. Your fucking countrymen are cowards. They put the mask, they lined up. Oh my God, we're all going to die. And immediately. Right? And then they got to hide behind their compliance. I know Americans, actual Americans, would absolutely be ashamed of the cowardice. Right? Anyway, keep in mind that everyone has the right against self-incrimination and everyone has the right to be innocent until proven guilty. You have those rights. They've taken them from you and replaced them with privileges. I told you you're a 14th Amendment citizen and that you don't have any kind of... Anyway. So understanding this one fucking word, person, is going to be kind of crucial in one, perhaps staunching, right? You're putting the armor of God on here. But you need armor. You need a shield. Then once you get the armor, then you can start swinging your sword. But too many of you guys want to go out there butt fucking naked and start swinging your sword around thinking that you're going to change the... And no, you're not. Okay. So this entire situation is one that you should defend yourself against, right? So you have to know how to defend yourself against this, and you have to know what the fucking words mean, because that's the only way you're going to defend yourself. Yusuf El said it best. How the fuck are you going to win a game of words if you don't know what the words mean? Because it's just a word game. And you play in a court. And you got to know where your court... Anyway, let's just read this or we're never going to get through it, are we? Okay. If you are a black man, why would you accept the label of African American? I never did. I'm black. What is that? This is black. This is black. This is not black. I remember seeing my first black man. I was a teenager at the time. And the guy, and on top of that, we were at Cam 2 on Maui. The beach looked completely different there. There was a parking lot there. We were sitting in the parking lot, looking down at the beach, drinking beers. I was a teenager at the time. Completely, everything was illegal. But fuck it, because we can. And anyway, we're at the beach, and this black tourist went walking by wearing a white Speedo. And I mean, that man was black. He was black like this black. And everybody was like, "Why are you?" Because I'd never seen a black man. Anyway, all right. Why not make them prove it if they are prosecuting you for something? Yeah. Why not make them prove it if they're prosecuting you for something? Prove that they have jurisdiction and authority. They can't. Prove that they have oaths of office. Prove that they nobody else. Prove their claims. Oh, so how are you going to get them to prove their claims? You're going to they make up a phony debt. Okay, well then make up a phony bankruptcy. You cannot pay the debt, or you choose not to pay the debt. All right, and then hand them claim forms. Prove your fucking claims if you think I owe this money. And then if you can prove your claim, maybe because, let's see, HGR 192 and what is it, 7310, Public Law 7310, which is HGR 192. And the HGR 192 has been House Joint Resolution. That thing got repealed, but it was recodified at 7310. Bottom line, in 1933, there ain't no fucking money. So since there is no money, all debt obligations are the debts, an obligation of United States. So if they bring a debt against you, United States technically owes the debt. But you don't know that, so you pay it with your labor. Anyway, you have an exemption. Jim Rickards is even talking about your exemption. Well, actually, he's not talking about your exemption. He's talking about that there is a fact of public trust with $153 trillion in it. You guys can't even I can't conceive of a trillion. How much is a fucking trillion? 1,000 billion. Okay, that helps. How much is a billion? 1,000 millions. All right, that helps. Right? Trillion is an insane number, and there's 153 trillion supposedly dollars sitting there in some account someplace being managed by someone. Okay, anyway. So why not make them prove if they are prosecuting you for something? Why not make them prove it if they are prosecuting you for something? Prove what? Prove it. Prove the claim. Okay, don't just hand them everything they need to strip you of all your rights. Make them work for it hard. Anything you say can and will used against you, right? So why aren't you talking? Okay, most of you would just stand silent. Get a scary letter from the IRS. Instead of answering it like, fuck you guys, you're like, oh no, the IRS. And now they use basic law where you don't respond, and then it becomes, right? Okay, all my affidavits that I put in, they didn't rebut. They did some motions of limine to get rid of them, but they didn't get rid of all of them. Because some of them they couldn't get rid of. Like the interrogatory, or excuse me, not the interrogatory, the, oh my God. The letters rogatory. It wasn't an interrogatory. It was a letter rogatory that I sent to my lawyer, giving him instructions on how to represent the name. He wasn't representing me, and I let the judge know. The lawyers actually chuckled. Because the last time I was in court, I wasn't there for anything. I was just there because they asked me to come. And I came voluntarily, pretty much. Because I didn't want to get arrested just in case they, but I didn't need to be there because my lawyer was representing the name. And they came to an agreement, which was give us $3,500 and you can go home. All right. So I told my lawyer, use my exemption. Okay. But he was too incompetent. That's what they use. We're incompetent. We don't know how to use your exemption, even though they wrote a fucking bond for an appearance using my social security number. And a signature that they lifted somewhere, but they couldn't discharge the debt with my social security. And they didn't, then apparently they were so incompetent that they didn't know what subrogation was. Seeing it was the guys at UR Law that explained what subrogation was to me. So I subrogated myself. Fuck you guys. But like I said, the last thing I did was you two, right? The name, Ben H. Rogers, and the lawyer, fucking can't remember the Jew's name. He was representing that name in the court, handling the business, and I was just kind of standing there. And we didn't get it on film. Got all the other ones on film. We didn't get that one on film. We're on video. But the idea is you got to learn how to defend yourself. You got to learn about subject matter jurisdiction. You got to know what the fucking words mean, or they will extract wealth from you. They extracted wealth and time from me, but the story is not over. Okay, because I can get it all back and more. And more importantly than all of this, fuck the money, my sons are free. My son has a 4-star passport. My other son has a 5-star passport. Soon, both sons will have a 5-star passport. I am the last slave. Okay, you like free yourself, then you got to learn some shit. Right? Because at this point, it doesn't matter. I'm fucking 61 years old. It's over for me. I'm pretty much, it's not over, but you know what I mean. I've fucked beautiful women. I've been rich. I've been poor. I've seen sunsets that would make you cry. I've seen rainbows that would make you cry. I've swum in waterfalls that would blow your mind. Right? My sons have got a lot of living left to do, and they're doing it. They're in Southeast Asia as we speak. Laos is the last place I heard they were at. And that 5-star passport, oh man, does that make a difference? Right? Okay. So all of this, yeah, forevermore. If we survive 40 and 46, I was the last slave. Okay, you want to be free? Learn some words. Learn how to express yourself. Learn how to express the trust. You got to write documents. They're not going to teach you nothing. They're not going to teach you where you sign your name. They're not going to even fucking tell you where to put your address. They're not going to tell you what the word address means. All right. Do not allow a quick and painless stripping of your rights. Just because you may be of dark complexion means nothing. Are you a mulatto? Well, you clearly that clearly puts you in another classification. Make them work and sweat to establish you in this class as a person's. Right, and he put the S on there on purpose. I know he did. Right, persons. Are you a person's? You may have signed your name on more than one occasion, claiming not only that you're a person's. These guys think that my son is a person's because he signed his name and said he was a person's. And not any kind of person, a U.S. person. Which means that Congress and state of Hawaii and any fucking county and any fucking badge-wearing, mask-wearing jerk-off with a low IQ, because you got an IQ cap, you know you fucking do. If you had an IQ cap, if you didn't have an IQ cap, you couldn't work the job. Because there aren't any fucking Mensa guys being cops. Hate to say it. They won't let you. Because the guys with badges and guns, they don't want them realizing what they're doing. Some of them do, and immediately, I know more than a few guys that quit once they understood. You know, a lot of the Maui cops, right? I lived Maui my whole life. Grew up with these guys. Went to school with these guys. We fucked the same women. We ate at the same restaurants. Right? Smoked the same brand cigarettes. Drove the same kind of fucking cars. I grew up with these guys. I knew their fucking dogs. Okay, when they figured out what was going on, a lot of them quit. They just fucking quit. Now think about it. They may have years on the force. That means, what about the pension? What about all that stuff? Nope. Okay, and there's a lot of guys that don't have the moral gumption to do that. But a lot of them guys, I know one guy, young cop, Maui, well, not that young, younger than me, where he was just, I didn't fucking sign up for this. I didn't fucking sign up. I'm not doing this. And he quit. And then we get a lot of Maui cops. The head Maui cop, the fucking chief of police on Maui, that's an evil man. It's not a bad man doing bad things. That's not a good man doing bad things. That's an evil man doing bad things. Look at him, talk to him. Anyway, let me continue reading. If they believe you are of African descent and they want to press those claims, don't give them even the slightest word to help them do so. I don't know why I put keep in there. Don't give them the slightest word to help them do so. Feed the flames of disgust from the liberals. Let them bring those claims bring those claims at the doorstep of liberal organizations and allow them to release their ire upon the claimant. Play this game like a musical instrument. You do not need to hand this information to your prosecutor. Please keep in mind that white people believe it is kind to use the term African American. Yeah, you see, this is the thing. The condescending white folk that I went to school with at a private white school on Maui, and that's what it was. It was a private white school. It's not so much a private white school anymore, but for the upper class white folk on Maui. They're not bad people. See, these are not evil people. Those are good people. Some of those are good people doing bad things, but for the most part, those are good people trying to be kind, right? But they've been programmed to think, right? They're condescending as fuck. And they do a lot of things for my own good. Anyway, please keep in mind that white people believe that it's kind to use the term African American. Please be soft and caring in our ignorance. We all need to learn. White people do not have to struggle and wrestle with our rights and our right to exist, like the black race needs to do. The stronger and more aggressive you are in an attempt to be heard, the deafer the ears will become of those you are trying to reach. Oh, there is a prescient statement. Please be soft and help everyone understand this terribly important line that is drawn between those of African blood and those without it. Use this page to share with others to help them understand the truth of this situation rather than being aggressive, mean, and abrasive. By the way, I've been in think tanks, believe it or not, in Washington, D.C. I've hung with some interesting people in my life. Mathematics. But I can tell you directly, and this is in front of me. Okay, so how are they like when they're not in front of me? But they consider Hawaiians and a lot of the Pacific Islanders, they are the niggers of the Pacific. Right? That's just the way they look at it. Right? They are racist. They're not your friend. They're not okay. So you got to let them know. And see, and a lot of times they're right, depending on your use of the word or term nigger. But I mean, the most ignorant, the most cowardly, the most obedient, the most slovenly. They work for minimum wage or close to it. Right? And now these evil bastards are in the process of getting rid of that. Well, you know more going to get a job. Oh, I'm a trucker. It doesn't matter. They're going to have self-driving trucks. Oh, I can deliver I can unload it. No, they don't. They're not going to need you. They're going to be on pallets that drive around themselves and robots that can. All of that. That's all going to be automated. They got robots all over the place. They don't look like robots, like cars, but they're robots. They self-drive. They're connected to AI. They make decisions. Right? I need to turn. They're in like. Right? There's cars. And they need to make decisions. And so far, it may have been a fender bender because of one of the dummies that isn't to one of the ones that is, but there hasn't been any fatalities. And last I checked, because I did a little dive into it, the Wemos hadn't killed anyone, and it hasn't been the Wemo's fault, because the Wemo is 99.99 obeying traffic law, right? Obeying the statutes, obeying the signs. Anyway, everything's changing, my friends, and they have plans that you don't want to hear about. But anyway, we are on 7. Let's get to 7, and then I think it might be time to quit because it's getting late. It's Mother's Day. I want to eat some foods. It's already 7 o'clock, and I just want to go down to the pool just for the fun of it, because down there at the pool they sound like they're having a good time. I can see it's kids. It's little kids playing. It's hot. It's it's after dark, but it's like 90 something degrees. In fact, let's find out what is the temperature right now. Let's see. Arizona temp. Crazy. Temp. Everybody says I made it all one word, so it didn't understand me. All right. Survey says it's 100 degrees out there right now. And it's dark. I mean, well, it's not dark, but I mean, the sun has gone down pretty much. It's going on 10 to 7 here. So it's just about going to be dark, and it's still 100 degrees. Gotta love Phoenix. My favorite thing about the desert is when it's warm at night, when it's like 10:30 at night and the breeze blows and it's warm. I love that, personally. Many people hate that, but I love that. Anyway, I like it when it's warm. Yeah, I don't like when it's cold. I don't like cold weather. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I don't like cold weather. I'll take cold weather for a weekend, and even by Sunday, that's probably too much. You guys want to go snowboarding and play in the snow? That's great. I'll sit by the fire and drink hot cocoa. Anyway, in 1807, the expanding of the word persons to include artificial fictions. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. In 1873, due to the slaughterhouse cases, the delineating point between who was persons and who were people was simply the distinction between white man and a Negro. It's that simple. And so let's not sugarcoat it. Right? If you were an African slave, you were persons. If you were a white guy, you were one of the people. The people owned persons. How hard is that to understand? Persons don't own people. Well, that should come with a few modifications, but we'll just leave. Persons are not supposed to own people, but persons definitely try to own people. But if they do, it's voluntary. It's not involuntary. You had to sign some documents. You had to naturalize. You had to do something. They don't just own you. Now, they did it all by trick and fraud, but that's beside the point. All right, anyway, so let us continue here. Then we have some cases which expand this understanding. One of the most critical being Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. And see, this is the thing. I've talked about this before. There should be certain cases that you know, right? Pollock, you should know that case. Brady, you should know that case. Slaughterhouse cases, you should know that case. I mean, there are certain cases that you should know. Miranda, you should kind of sort of know what the hell that was about. Miranda rights. Never once did I hear them read me my Miranda rights. Never once. So I've never been read my rights, ever. Okay. In 1873, due to the slaughterhouse... Oh, I just read that. Okay. Then, in some cases, which expand this understanding, one of the most critical is the Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. You should know what's in there. This case clearly... Gee, just a little bit of onomatopoeia and I can't do it? Okay. Actually, that's not onomatopoeia. That's alliteration. This case clearly expanded the 14th Amendment definition of persons, meaning Negroes. Here is the exact quote from that case that caused this to occur. One of the points made and discussed at length in the brief of counsel for defendants in error was that corporations are persons within the meaning of the 14th Amendment.
to the Constitution of the United States. Before argument, Mr. Chief Justice Waite said, "The court does not wish to hear argument on the question whether the provision in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which forbids a state to deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, applies to these corporations. We are all of the opinion that it does." Well, so it's understood. Okay, this is where the Supreme Court began the expansion of the 14th Amendment definition of person, which has nothing to do with free white people of state citizenship. Right? Again, they saw their in. And if you understand that there's an intelligence, an unseen hand, the thing that guides all this, step by step by step. And Brandon's going to lay it out for you. And I'm going to read it to you. Okay. Again, the guy did a fuck ton of research to just come up with this one document. Okay, plus all the other stuff that he did. It's kind of important that you might honor him by reading what he wrote and then putting it into practice. You really honor the teacher when you put the teaching into practice. Get yourself a 5-star passport. Get yourself a trust. Get yourself, set up so that you can navigate in the world of commerce. Okay, this definition and expansion of meaning only applies to the 14th Amendment, not to state citizenship, men of the Union, meaning white people who were actual state citizens. The 14th, and see, and this is the other thing, Brandon, it's not just white people. There's a lot of different kind of people here from Europe that wouldn't be considered the white folk, but at the same time, it is correct to say that the actual state citizens, they were not Negroes. Right? They were not descendants of slaves. They were not supposedly part of the peculiar institution. Okay, the 14th Amendment never had anything to do with white people or state citizens. Actually, it doesn't even say or, it's a slash. White people, state citizens. So either or both. The original 10 amendments were for us. This is the Bill of Rights that was for white people, while the 14th Amendment was specifically made for the Negroes. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this interpretation. He is correct. And you hate it. Again, I want to take a moment to diffuse emotional outbursts. We are looking at active laws that may be considered ancient from our perspective, but it doesn't matter that they're old and antiquated and come from a time when thought is different than the way thought is now. They're still on the books and they still apply. So you need to understand what they say and what to do about it in your specific case. We need to understand the situation and laws first prior to our ability to change or shape them. That's all I am attempting by this. I am a lowly researcher. The decisions of the American people or persons must come first in a place of understanding, then ultimately from independent thought and action. I am not a lord in these discussions. Like, I am not guru, right? You have the ability to take the information and research the information for yourself also, and then decide what to do about it. And again, there's paperwork to be done. I am not a lord in these discussions. I am simply the messenger attempting to translate the words of the various honorable justices and the legal terminology. I am simply attempting to be a legalese translator, which has never really existed prior to this blip in time. But I attempt to be no lord over these words. I want to successfully translate these things in order to create change in our culture. You want to create the most change? Education, education, education. When you actually take the time to read the words of those honorable justices, you quickly realize that they were not racist pieces of shit. They were simply trying to understand the situation and navigate a difficult situation the best they could. If anything, they were putting their life on the line by even speaking a word trying to protect the Negroes or give them any kind of freedom. The issue here is not the words of these honorable justices. I say honorable because they were. The problem is that their words were lost in translation and no one reads their original communications anymore. Stop using artificial intelligence. Stop listening to the media. Stop listening to your friends and take the time to carefully read and understand what those honorable justices were trying to tell you. They are telling you everything you need to achieve your freedom. I assure you, Mr. Miller, Mr. Taney, Mr. Wallace, and a vast majority of all the honorable justices in our past were brilliant men. If you take the time to understand their words, you will see that. I could argue the point, but I'm not gonna. 8. The definition of the term individual. See, back in the day, like I said, when I got my patent, I realized that I didn't understand. I thought individual meant one thing, and clearly it means another. Well, let us discuss. Well, we're not going to discuss. We're going to just read what Brandon has to say. At this point, again, how are we doing on time? I see, what's his name? Seeing Edgar too. See, we're going on 3 hours. Okay, see, and some of you guys, Johnny Come Latelys, start at the beginning, hit 2 times speed, and you might even catch me up. I've done that a number of times with Jason on some of his live ones and so on. But see, my problem now is that, I have a hard time watching videos on regular speed because it's like they sound drunk and they're talking way too slow for me. Okay, so and then there's this other guy. It's amusing because he speaks so rapidly that when you put him on 2 times speed, then he's almost too fast to understand. But anyway, once you get used to it, 2 times speed, man, I'm telling you, you get twice the information. And this is the other thing. Let's say, like on a video like this, instead of listening to it at 1 time speed, you could listen to it at 2 times speed twice in the same amount of time. And you might get actually more information out of it. Anyway, that's what I do a lot of times. I listen to stuff on 2 times speed 2, 3, 4 times. Rarely listen to stuff at just plain regular speed, unless it's a live feed. Anyway, so the definition of the term individual. 8. Where are we? And I don't even know how long this treatise is. Like, we're on number 8. I can now safely say that I am about a quarter of the way through this thing. All right, let's scroll all the way down. I'll have to scroll back up to number 8. But I just want to see how many of them there are. Let's see here. Because we're going to get here. I'm going to read all of this. I'm also going to read that case that involves the chief of police of County of Maui. Also, you notice they got a huge distraction going on about I love it. One of the things that jumps out on the page, absolute fucking abysmal horseshit. Tell us how you really feel. All right, I like it. See, and this guy does not offend me at all. All right, 16 is how many? So technically in bullet points or in Roman numerals, we're halfway through at 8, because this goes how to shoot bald eagles into your veins. I love it. Anyway, all right, so let's go back to 8. And I think I'll read 8 and then we'll quit. And then I'll read 9 through 16 in another video. Or maybe we'll do 10. I don't know. Anyway, because I'm nowhere near half the scroll. So just because we're on bullet point 8 or Roman numeral 8 doesn't mean we're halfway through the document. We're just halfway through the points. Because some of those other points must be much longer because I'm nowhere near halfway through this document. Anyway, the definition of the term individual. Let's get to it. At this point, there should be an it there. At this point would be a good point to backtrack to the definition of individual. So I would say at this point, it would be a good point to backtrack to the definition of individual, of the word individual. Let's look at the various definitions we can find. All right, 8 USC. And you should know the pedigree, right? Okay, dictionary definition, right? And you know what is actually the most, but it's not always written down? Common parlance is the most important definition of the word, which is why You want to take your words and put them in your documents and tell everybody what you mean. If there's a word in your document that might be subject to interpretation, just put it in your court, right? Put it in the glossary of terms. Okay. And I think Brandon kind of sort of let you, don't put this in the glossary. Don't even give this to them. Let them read it for themselves. Further, I can tell you that you put a long document in, they're not going to read it. And I did that on purpose to one judge because I knew they weren't going to read the whole thing, but it's still sitting there. Okay, 8 USC 8, entitled Person, Human Being, Child, and Individual, is including born alive infant, and says the following, right? Because there's infants that aren't born alive. There's also the thing that they name and number called the placenta, which is considered to be a living thing at birth. The placenta that came with me is no longer there. But see, very simple. First in line, first in time, right? Has priority, has the most standing. I came before the placenta, not me. So I have more standing. I am first in line. I am ahead of the thing that they name and numbered. Okay, in determining the meaning of any act of Congress or any ruling, regulation, or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States, the words person, human being, child, and individual shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapien who is born alive at any stage of development. B, as used in this section, see, they tell you what the words mean. You got to know what the words mean. As used in this section, so you could put as used in this document, the term or the word means, right? Okay, so there can be no fucking question. Right? They use the word like arms, firearms. Firearms includes grenades. It's not just this. It's not just this. Firearms has, go read the definition of the word firearms. It's not what you think. And then firearm is different than arm. I have the right to bear arm. My oldest son has the unconditional right to bear arm. Because he has a 5-star passport and all the United States of America constitutional amendments, those Bill of Rights, apply. And he's letting them know with that 5-star passport that he did not waive those rights. That doesn't mean he doesn't have respect for you and your badge and your gun, but that does mean that you don't have jurisdictional subject matter jurisdiction over him anymore, unless he is breaking one of the commandments. In other words, he's causing harm, an actual crime involving another person. Crossing a yellow line does not harm anyone. Unless, of course, you cross the yellow line and run into another car. Then that's a whole other animal. But the idea is that they've turned many things into criminal things where they can get money, because that's the only thing, except for the part where there is no fucking money. So those debts can be discharged if you know what the fuck you're doing. And there are people that can help you understand and know what you're doing. But many of the people that are telling you how to discharge might not be up and up. Let's just put it that way. I've seen a lot of stuff that's, those are Judas goats. They'll make it look like, oh, look, it worked for me. But it didn't. Beverly, you in so much trouble. Oh, my fucking God. Anyway, Robert, all you fucking guys. Anyway, as used in this section, the term born alive with respect to a member of the species Homo sapien means the complete expulsion or extraction from his or her mother of that member at any stage of development who, after such expulsion or extraction, breathes or has a beating heart, pulsation of the umbilical cord, or definite movement of voluntary muscles, regardless of whether the umbilical cord has been cut and regardless of whether the expulsion or extraction occurs as the result of natural or induced labor, cesarean section, or induced abortion. might be important to read that one right there a couple of times so you know you is born alive. And once again, not all persons, right? Because there's artificial persons. Not all persons are human beings. Not all persons are corporations. Not all corporations, right? Because I can be incorporated, or I can create a thing that's incorporated. Okay, so you got to know. But when they're talking in when their jurisdiction is over commerce, their jurisdiction, what they speak law about, is individuals and persons, not necessarily men and women. Now, those men and women can be classified as individuals and persons, and they got to do the classification themselves. Right? No one can determine for you. Your right to self-determination is sacrosanct. Okay, as used in this section, the term born alive, I just read that, sure does sound like a whole shitload of words for something that should be simple, right? Yeah, well, that is the game. You think, oh, well, an individual is so simple. It's me. Yeah, it's not. I'm just reading what he wrote. That could have been my commentary, but it's not. That was actually on the page. Your umbilical cord and placenta, according to the above definition of live birth, were both independent live births. And I used to know this statute. There's you know who the guy was, and I hate the fact that he got rid of his website because it was causing him too much issue. Kallenbach, Richard Kallenbach, the whole thing about, and you look in the statute, there is places where it talks about the umbilical cord and the placenta and so on. And I used to know that. I think it was Tennessee. I can't remember so much. I'm getting to the point where, like with mathematics, I've forgotten more law than most people know. I've forgotten more math than most people will ever know. Anyway, your umbilical cord and placenta, according to the above definition of live birth, were both independent live births. So they name and numbered one, and they didn't name and number the other one. This one didn't get named and numbered. So let me ask you, who is on your birth certificate? Is it your body? Is it your umbilical cord? Is it your placenta? Are you even your body, or are you just a consciousness that can be separated from a physical body? That's why this is an absolutely spiritual quest. I reside here. I do not reside in a state. I do not reside in one of the 50 states. I do not reside in a county. I reside here. Could it be something else entirely? You assume it's you on the birth certificate, but that would be unconstitutional in and of itself. So the question becomes, who are they referring to? Right? Who was that lawyer representing? Who were they charging? Who is you? Okay, if these words were really that simple, they would be that simple in definition. The fact that they are not is evidence that there is more here. And I would say more going on here. There's a whole fuck ton of shit going on here. Let's look at more definition of individual. How about we take a look at 5 USC? There is gold in 5 USC. A man named Dan Mayador, who they murdered, who they killed with, I don't know how they did it, but they gave him respiratory infection, which flu or whatever. Anyway, they killed him. He died of pneumonia, basically. And a bunch of people. The other person that they killed at that time was Patsy Mink. And they killed a bunch of people that were asking questions and doing research and so forth. These people traffic children. These people, I can't use the words, but what they do. Yeah, okay, so do you think they're really not just gonna? They have an issue getting rid of you or me if we get too uppity, right? If Brandon got a little too problematic for them, do you think he wouldn't? What happened to David Strait? And where's Bonnie right now? Kind of her own fault, but anyway. They're not fucking around. And you're not taking your pen and paper unless you are a multi-billionaire. You're not changing nothing. But you can defend yourself, and you can kind of sort of get them to leave you alone because it gets to the point where it's not worth it to them. Okay, let's look at some more definitions. So here we are at 5 USC 552A2. Individual is anyway, 5 USC. Go read 5 USC. There is gold there. When you're beefing administrative procedures when you're beefing with the IRS, 5 USC is where it's at, kids. You're gonna find all kind of stuff there. Anyway, 5 USC 552A2. The term individual means a citizen of the United States or an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. The term individual means a citizen of the United States or an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence. We've already established that a U.S. citizen is a released slave of African descent, a Negro, and that sometimes, and that someone with a residence is an immigrant. So let's rewrite that definition in English instead of legalese. The term individual means a Negro and or non-citizen, a non-national, lawfully admitted to stay here as an immigrant. That's a good rewrite. I'll take it. Bingo. That would be 100% correct. And since all legal fictions are also 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, they would also be included in that definition. So let's expand even more. We're going to rewrite it one more time. The term individual means any 14th Amendment persons, which would include Negroes or other corporate fictions, of which would be considered non-citizen, non-national, lawfully admitted to stay here as an immigrant. See, and this is the issue. The border crossers, they can kick those guys out. But what were you going to do with the guys that were born here? So let's plug that same idea into the definition of the term person into the tax code from which the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, an estate partnership, association, company, or corporation. So let's rewrite that now with the above info. The term person shall be construed to mean and include a Negro, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. See? You don't see white person in there. You don't see state citizen in there, or you don't hear it. Maybe you're reading along. Oh yeah, that's what I should do. Right, you guys could be reading right along with me this whole time. I'm sure some of you are, but I'll tell you what, I'll just make it easy on everyone. And I'll just stick it over here in the chat. How easy. Wow, it's getting dark. Bugsy, it's getting dark in here. I gotta put some lights on. All right, there's that. Okay. Should have done that a lot sooner. Okay. Bingo. Now we got it. I also personally believe that individual is typically referring to a sole proprietorship. Me too. In fact, you are the sole proprietorship. And it's a cute little play on words. S-O-L-E as opposed to S-O-U-L. Anyway, you are a sole proprietorship. You won. And that proprietorship, that sole proprietorship, you are sovereign over that one sole proprietorship, right? You are a sovereign in a nation of one. You are not sovereign over police. You are not sovereign over judges. You're not sovereign over Donald Trump. You're not sovereign except over your own self. But you don't even know who you is. Hard time be sovereign if you don't know who you is. Okay, so let's see here. Bingo. Now we've got it. I personally also believe that the word individual is typically referring to sole proprietorship. So personally, I would say that the word individual leans to mean more of a sole proprietorship, whereas a natural person would lean more towards a Negro. Interesting turn of phrase there. Lean. Tend toward. But you get the idea, right? Okay, so there's the individual and natural person. Okay, so if I had if I had to go even a step further, I would define it as the term person shall be construed to mean and include a Negro, a sole proprietorship, a trust, an estate, a partnership, an association, a company, or a corporation. Now, once again, you can put that into your documents, right? When I'm using the word person, and in the context of this document, that's what it means. And you might change it up a little bit more. You might add some other stuff. Or you might take some stuff out to make it really simple. All right. So now it says, that's exactly what it is. Please review the above definition. I'm telling you, this is truly my ultimate victory after 3.5 years of beautiful work. This is my ultimate discovery, and I deliver it to you here on a silver fucking platter. He does, right? He didn't have to do any work. He just did all the research and wrote it down and gave it to you. And now you don't have to read it. I'm reading it to you with commentary. A Negro who was never considered part of the people. They were considered property. See, this is the thing, everybody hates it, especially the Negroes hate it. But yeah, you were considered property. And see, it was about property rights. Right? And see, wow, I can go so many places. Christians decided that other humans shouldn't be property. There's a bunch of Christians right now. I'm having severe issues with some of you who can't seem to see that starving children is not a Christian thing to do. Harming children isn't. Again, so fucking easy. A left-hand path harms children. Right-hand path nurtures children. What's going on in Gaza? Are you on the right-hand path or are you on the left-hand path? Oops. Left-hand path, right-hand path. Right? Are you nurturing children or are you standing by watching them harm children? You can be a Christian and be on the left-hand path. And oddly enough, according to some of the Hindus, you can be a demon and be on the right-hand path. Everyone has become Negroes without anyone realizing it. This is what happened to our country. And this is why the 100 Monkeys say, we all niggas now. I've been saying that since like 2000 something when I first started figuring some of this shit out. The United States Corporation and Congress decided that the pirates decided to take this person and use it for traffic, use it for the most peculiar institution, use it to extract money from the North American continent, from the people of the North American continent, men and women on the North American continent, giving up much of their labor to United States Corporation, fees and fines and taxes and. The corporation is there to extract wealth from you, right? From the unknowing. This is why a few of them, and I'm not going to go there today, but a few of them have figured out that once you understand the laws and you understand the books and you understand the stuff, you will no longer hate the system. You will no longer hate the IRS. Once you understand how to fill out the paperwork, and once you'll start to, because you understand that it's written for a very specific class of people who believe that the masses are asses, because they are, and that they are perfectly, what's the word I want? They're allowed. It's perfectly acceptable for them to extract wealth from the ignorant, particularly when they say things like, let the deceived be deceived. Let them who wish to be deceived be deceived. You want to pretend you're free? Pretend you're free all day long. Just pay us. Right? Pay again, because all your debts are paid. The guy in the front of the room that told you to do this, did he mention the fact that the guy that in this book paid all your debts for you? Yeah, but you don't know how to do anything about it. All right, so Brandon is trying to give you some clues. And then maybe you can write your paperwork. And then maybe you don't need templates. Really, Sovereign? You're so fucking lazy that you can't write it out yourself? And here's the other thing. Oops. Do I have any? I'm not going to say nothing because it's dark. I can't. All right. Nope, none of them. Are they on the floor? Yes, they're on the floor. I turned the fan on earlier and papers move all over the place for a minute and I didn't pick them all up. Anyway, you got to be able to do this in your own hand. You got to be. Can you even see that? Because I mean, it's dark in here. I should turn a light on. But the idea is the main thing here. Yeah, you can see. Sort of. There you go. All right. So the idea is you got to write in your own hand. You got to know how to sign. You got to know where to sign. You got to know how to sign your name. By, for. You got to know which side of the paper, right? You got to write it, not cut and paste and then sign your name at the bottom on the left-hand side and send it in. They know immediately. Right? Same thing now with their AI. They can take your typewritten document, feed it into their scanner, and say, oh, this came from Anna Van Wright. Oh, this came from David Strait. Oh, this came from Brandon Joe Williams. Oh, this came from The Lone Wolf. Oh, this came from Taj Tariq Bey. Oh, this came from Jonah Bey. Oh, this came from Yusuf L. and his SPC University. This came from, right? You got to write your own documents. Now, you can paraphrase, and sometimes the sentences may be exactly the same. And maybe you want to use the definition that's in this document. But at the same time, and again, you define what the words mean. You determine what happens to you. Who is responsible for you? I tell my sons this all the time, and they hate to hear it. Who is responsible for you? You are responsible for you and not another. Okay. Am I going to get through all this? Oh, I'm going to get all through. Oh, my God. All right. So we'll stop at 9. I am going to stop at 9 just because I've had enough. All right. But he's 100% correct. Right? We all niggas now. So what are you going to do about it? And see, this is them 100% looking me in the eyes. What are you going to do about it, Slade? What are you going to do? I've got immunity. He didn't say that. And she didn't say that. The judges. But pretty clear. And then, see, I'm not going to talk there. I'll hang myself. But let's just say there's a bunch of people in the bureaucracy that have become so, what's the word I want? So secure in their fraud that they think they're untouchable. They become so arrogant. They become so unscrupulous. They've been so bold-faced, so all these things. And they don't realize the sea change that's happening. Well, some of them actually now are starting to realize the sea change that's happening. And the closer you get to DC, the more the panic. But a lot of those people in DC understand that they're in trouble. Like, they're not in just a little bit of trouble. There's people that are out to hang them. Okay, so let's use Grok on X. On 4/7/25, I typed in the Grok. Okay, so he's using Grok. I use ChatGPT, a little bit of Grok. I'm learning how to Grok and Meta. But there's a bunch of other engines. Anyway, I'm teaching myself AI, and holy crap, AI changes everything. This needs to be part of your homeschool. AI needs to be part of your homeschool. Mathematics needs to be part of your homeschool. Okay, so let's use Grok. Okay, I typed in the Grok. How many times in the USC and CFR is the term individual used together with the word alien? See how awesome it is? And Grok will go look through and see where is, right? Find the word individual near the word alien. Find the word alien near the word individual. Find the word living individual, right? Find the word person, etc. You can tell Grok to do a lot of things. See, and this is the thing. You got to be able to talk to machines as easily as you can talk to a woman. Or a man, depending, right? And the way you talk to a machine is not the way you talk to other men or women. So you're going to have to learn how to speak to machines. And when you do it right, you get fantastic results. And when you do it not so right, or when you're sloppy, you get back sloppy results. So there's this whole thing about, prompt engineering, learning it. And yeah, it makes a difference. Anyhow. So he typed this in, And here's the best part of the answer. And it just gave him a really small little thing because I'm sure it came back with a lot more than this. But anyway, estimation. Alien appears hundreds of times in Title 8. I don't want to hear hundreds. How many times? Anyway, alien appears hundreds of, and I've done that. I've actually dressed down ChatGPT a couple of times. Anyway, we'll skip it because they lie, right? Just because it's a machine doesn't mean it won't lie or it won't bring you back information that isn't true. It's just doing what it's told. Okay. Appears hundreds of times in Title 8, and individual likely pairs with it in 50 to 100 instances. 50 to 100? Is it 58? Is it 99? Is it 72? Based on procedural and definitional sections. Procedural and definitional sections. Anyway, so you can use ChatGPT, and people are now to start slicing up the US code. Ooh, you could use it on the UCC too. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm trying to discharge this debt. What relevant parts of the UCC should I use? You're going to have to do some more prompting, but I mean, that's the general idea, right? And it'll help you if you know what you're doing. I'm telling you, you got to make AI part. You got to learn how to use, and it's going to take, there's a learning curve. But once you get the stuff and oh my God, it's going to change every fucking thing. Can you see how many lawyers are going to be out of work? Can you see how, I mean, oh my God, there's going to be all kind of clerks. There's going to be all kind of people that are out of work. Right? And then there's going to be people that are irreplaceable because once they learn how to use ChatGPT, oh my God, it's going to make a difference in them being, like, say you're a law clerk. And you learn how to use ChatGPT to bring back everything and how to make it not hallucinate, because this is what they call it now. When it comes back with just complete nonsense or cites to cases that never existed and so forth, it's just hallucinating. So you got to make sure that you prompt it so it doesn't hallucinate. And then you got to be able to check and see if it's hallucinating. Because there was a lawyer, famous story now, where the AI wrote the brief for him, and when the opposing party went and checked the sites weren't real. Well, I had ChatGPT do it. That doesn't excuse. You're supposed to know what's in your paperwork. And see, that's the other thing. A lot of you guys don't have it, right? You cut and paste. You have no idea what the words mean. And then they're going to hang you. They're going to hang you with your own words. So what you need to learn how to do in this game is hang them with their own words, their own documents. See, and most of the time, they know you're so ignorant, they can hand you a document that should destroy them, and you don't even know what to do with it. What's this? That's it, right? Oh, wait, $100 bill? Get rid of it. Anyway. Oh, wait a minute. That was a $100 bill. Okay. So now that it would make perfect sense in many ways, because a business that is created under the United States, which is only and explicitly the District of Columbia, would always be an immigrant as a person in each of the 50 states of the Union. Do you see that? Do you see what that is? Right? So now here's the thing. You want a 98 EIN number, a foreign to United States. And they're going to try and make you say that, well, then that has to be like Canada or Mexico or something like that. But no, United States is 10 square miles in DC. And that's it. And then they use this fraudulent zip code system, and I showed you how to get around that you're zip code exempt, but you're not zip code exempt if you don't tell them you're zip code exempt, if you don't tell them that you're aware of the fraud. And a lot of times they're going to be like, oh, it's okay, you're aware of the fraud, you're still using the zip code, so, right? Okay, 3-cent stamps. Let's see here. A Negro would also always be an immigrant or foreigner in any of the 50 states of the Union. They never had the right to be a state citizen and can only be U.S. citizens, which is under the federal national government, which should be the District of Columbia. Now, here's this other thing, folks. Do we not have birthright naturalization here? So even if you were the son or daughter of slaves, 3 or 4 generations, you've been born on the land and born on the land and born on the land. I was born on the land. My father was born on the land. His father was born on the land. His father before that was born on the land. Freemen, by the way. And then we go back. I don't remember how many I count. But then you get back to Rogers Plantation, which is how my family took the last name Rogers, because they were enslaved in Alabama on the Rogers Plantation. The mother of my children, her father's people were enslaved on the Boone Plantation in a place called Virginia. The laws in Alabama and the laws in Virginia are different, but there is a federal law that supposedly supersedes those two, but it doesn't, because the states gave rise to the federal government, not the other way around. All right, but the bottom line is, her father, she was born on the land in a place called California. He was born on the land. I don't know where he was born. I don't know if he was born in California or what. I should know that, actually. Where was my son's grandfather on the other side born? No idea. Anyway, but I know they were born on land going back multiple generations to Virginia. That naturalized them in state after state after state. Right? My mother was born in Illinois. I was born in Illinois. My father was not born in Illinois. He was born in another state. But we're all born on the land on the North American continent, and we are not persons. We are the people. Right? We are the posterity of the crazy men who thought that our rights came unalienably, directly from God Almighty. Mom and Dad gave you, because I always ask people who are atheists or whatever, so where'd you get your soul from, your mom or your dad? Who gave you your soul? Who gave you the animation? Because you got a body, clearly. But that's all they gave you. Mom and Dad gave you a body. God gave you the soul. God gave you this spark of life. And that spark of life comes with certain unalienable rights, which they immediately try to dispossess you of. Because if you have rights, they can't just take the money. If you have rights, okay, look at Leviticus. You can't be, right? God, I can't speak English because it all comes too fast. You can't be a heathen and be a slave. They consider all, right? If you're a God, right? If you believe, like, they can't enslave you. But if you claim to be a heathen and you claim you're in the wrong body and you claim you're a person, well, then they're going to enslave you and they're going to take all your money and they're going to do what the fuck they want, literally. Up into and including killing you if they want to. And they consider it their right. And they consider they're doing it for your own good. You're a fucking useless eater anyway. Take this shot. It's better on the other side. That's actually true. It is better on the other side. But, you know, you like being here because you don't know any better. And they don't have the right to send you to the other side unless you want to go. Okay. Where I was. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, this fully clarifies the definition of the word person in a new way that no one has ever discovered. I wouldn't go that far, Brandon, but it's fine. There's people that came before you, believe it or not. You need to read more. Because there isn't anybody I know that reads more than this guy, really, when you get right down to it. Anyway, you could almost go so far as to define an individual or person to be a Negro or legal fiction that was born, created in the District of Columbia or subjects itself to the District of Columbia and would be an immigrant or foreigner in any of the 50 states of the Union. That's a pretty interesting definition. But here's the bottom line. Basically, what you're doing, individual and person, yeah, it's a legal fiction. Doesn't necessarily have to be a Negro, is what they're trying to say. Right? But it's a legal fiction that was born or created. Who created it? Okay, because it wasn't born, it was birthed. There's a difference with the E, not the I. Right? I was birthed with an I. The fiction was birthed with an E. Okay, this is exactly, and that fiction is a sole proprietorship, which was created for my benefit. But the people that created it want absolute plenary power over it. So I said, no, I don't like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own return on loan. And then it's going to be my own trust. It's going to be my own sole proprietorship that I made. You could do the same, except don't use crouton loan. Okay, P.S. Another important thing to keep in mind that you become a ward of the court whenever you take on an attorney at law as what? Whenever you take on an attorney at law as a client. Oh, when you become a client, that's an awkward way of saying when you become a client of an attorney at law. They then get to attorney you. They are called attorneys. So when you hire an attorney, what are you basically doing? You're saying, hey, Mark, come and attorney me. Right? Where does the money end up? Go do that. There's a rabbit hole you can enjoy. Where does the money go? Where does some of that money eventually end up? Where do these corporations, right? Do you think that they all stay right there in the county of Maui? Do you think they all stay right here in Maricopa County? Or does some of those taxes and money make it all the way to fucking Rome? And line the pockets of kings and etc. Right? They're attorneying you. They're extracting wealth from an ignorant populace who chooses to be deceived. Right? A lot of you guys, you're going to watch this video, you're going to watch all of it and never do a fucking thing. You're never going to get a 5-star passport. You're going to keep paying your taxes. Right? Like they're your taxes because you scared. Why are you scared? Yeah, because you're right. They'll come and throw you in fucking jail. That's not a question. That's not a joke. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. They will take it to the limit. They will test you, and then when they see that you're not passing the test, they will take you and put you in jail. And then they'll make a profit on you every minute of your life instead of just taking a piece of your labor. It's a fucked up system, people. You got to understand the system. You cannot get mad at the system. You cannot change the system, but you can navigate the system. You know why you cannot change the system? Because there's always going to be evil men that try to make money off of others without doing any work. Always. That's never going to change. Well, here in this realm. And there's, right, and it's gotten so bad that we're getting toward the end of times. We're getting toward the end of the reset in the simulation. And they didn't tell you about that either. But that's coming up. Coming up like a bat out of hell. It makes me hyperventilate sometimes. My sons are fucking lollygagging and gallivanting and having a good time in Asia. We might start preparing for what comes. So okay. Here is one ecliptic where we've got Sol and the planets doing this. Okay. Then there's this other ecliptic at 23 degrees, oddly enough, where the planets go through. Okay. And when the planets go through, and it takes a long time because they're big orbits, 138 years, as a matter of fact. And there's other ones that come that we don't see, but because they're small, but they have effects. And part of the reason why volcanoes are going off right now. But anyway, those planets, you're looking down at this small corner after you let it. I'll stop sharing right now. Except I'm going to do one last thing. P.S. Another important thing to keep in mind is that you become a ward of the court whenever you take on an attorney as a client. You can learn more about this on the Williams & Williams questions and answers page. A ward of the court is an infant or a person of unsound mind, usually a double-minded person. There is another way for you to become an individual as a white man. Oh, this is another way you become an individual as a white man. Right? Because what they try to do, make all the Negroes individuals. But anyway, my point being is that those planets are coming. When they cross the planes, they cause chaos. And they may actually even knock this thing that we're on into a different orbit. Remember, it's a simulation. Just, right? Because there are people that can't comprehend. We're not on a globe and we're not. Okay, fine. But the simulation of the thing that's going on has to do with planets and orbits and the sun and this other thing. And anyway, we are in a binary system. And see, people think I'm not getting into the physics and math of it. I've been going for hours. But it's not what you think. And it's coming, and there's no a way to avoid it. So we need to prepare. And one of the things that we need to prepare, oh my goodness, look how dark it is. It's dark. It's dark in here, Bugsy. Bugsy is getting dark in here. That. There you go. Oh, there I am. I can't get over this hair. Anyway, I just took a shower and combed it, and this is what happened. Anyway, I got to fluff it up or do something. My point is that when things get out of hand the way they're getting out of hand right now, where we've got the AI kicking in and we've got the demons pretty much in control and enslaving entire populations and trafficking in humans and doing all kind of nasty things that they do, the way the simulation works somehow, and see, this is again, the fact that you can describe the simulation mathematically tells you that it's a simulation. And I can go deep into that, and that'll be a whole other video sometime. My sons get tired of hearing it. But the fact that you can, it's fact that you can describe all of this mathematically. You're in a simulation, my friends. Okay, so frequency and vibration. I'm speaking words. I'm taking those words and putting them on paper. And you'll be spelling. And you spell your way to freedom. You cast the spell. And even now, I sort of had the spell, but I didn't have the spell because I failed my finals. Do not be like me. I failed my final exam. Failed it. I'm going to take a retest, and this time I'll pass. But my first time through, failed. Anyhow, the point being is that once you cast these spells, yeah, they leave you alone. No, leave that one alone. Right? I've seen them do it. Now, my sons are starting to get a little taste of that. Ooh, leave that one alone. Because he's got a 5-star passport. They don't, and I'm not going to, they're going to figure it out for themselves. I just set them free. Now they need to educate themselves. And they're starting to realize that, yeah, they need to know more. Right? Okay. That's not me saying, hey, you should read this. Hey, that's not me saying, oh, this one right here, you should probably read this. Right? And then they're finding out that, yeah, a lot of the stuff that's in here and talking about here, it does not apply in Thailand. That's a whole other country. Does not apply in Laos. Does not apply in China. Does not apply, right? But the fact that you are a sovereign American, they respect that, actually. And 100% because of our military. Our United States military. The corporate military. You'll notice that America has no standing army. Still, to this day. So kind of hard to enforce some of the things that goes on. All right. Clearly, there's going to be another video, maybe tomorrow or the next day or something. You can go back and watch this. I'm going to go back and watch this at 2 times speed. And then we have 9 through 16 to get through. All right. So that was the first 8. And I will make another one. And all I'm doing is reading from Brandon Joe Williams. Like I said, you got to give the guy props and respect. He spent time figuring this shit out, writing stuff down. You're not the first. Brandon's never going to watch this. It's fucking 3 hours and 32 minutes in. He'll never hear that. But the idea is there are ones that came before him. He's just spelling it out very nicely. And then understand who the Brandon Joe Williams guy is. That is a high level. He's not a Mason. He's a Scientologist. And like, I don't know, what's the word? Decorated? He's a decorated Scientologist. He's got decorations. Right? Like the Masons, they like to wear all their badges and stuff and put all their signs on. And see, this thing I noticed. Everybody does it. Right? The Masons will put their badges on. They'll never tell you what they mean. And they'll put their jewelry on. They'll put their jewelry, and they always wear them. It's the same thing. You go Boy Scouts, they wear their little sash with all their badges on. They're proud. You go bikers, they'll have their thing. Like some of the bike clubs, they have badges and shit that they give their guys. Name it. You see, and you'll start to understand that symbolism is their downfall because my boys, for example, were in a temple of Baal. No one said it was a temple of Baal. It was just a temple. No one said it was a temple of Lucifer. It was just a temple. But because this one has told you numerous times, know your fucking signs, they were able to look around and go, oh, shit. All the signs in here and everything on the roof, that's all satanic. Those are all pentagrams and symbols of Satan. Oh, look, they're in a different temple. That's Baal. The Baal worshippers didn't go away. The Satanists didn't go away. They didn't just disappear. They didn't just roll up, the sidewalks and call it a day. They didn't pack up their tent and go home. They figured out how to infiltrate and deceive. And it turns out they've infiltrated everything. See, our crazy founding fathers, they were Masons that wanted the freedom to practice their religion. Not all the religion is quote unquote good. Not all the Masons are a left-hand path. Not all the Masons are a right-hand path. Some of them are confuseth. They think they're right-hand path, but actually they're left-hand path. I know a lot of Christians that think they're right-hand path because we're Christians, and they're fucking condescending bastards that I can't explain to you what comes. There are 7 heretic principles, and one of those principles, no one escapes judgment. No one escapes the law. No one. No one stops the time. No one. I mean, they have all these things, right? Rhythm. They're not stopping the rhythm. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. They're not stopping that. You can build your sandcastle on the beach, but the tide is going to come in, and then it's going to come out, and there's not going to be a sandcastle on the beach anymore. Right? Polarity. You want, right? Okay. The idea is you can't escape any of those 7 principles. And these guys think because they have knowledge or a secret fucking handshake, or that they go to the meetings, that somehow it's not going to happen to them. Right? They're immune. They're above. And no, you're not. And see, they're starting to find out that it doesn't matter how many sacrifices they made. Right? Karma is a ugly, ugly bitch. Depending. Because I look at karma sometimes and go, wow, karma is beautiful. Perfect. Instant. Unavoidable. And there's a whole bunch of guys that want to pretend that karma isn't a thing. And that if you believe in karma or if you meditate, you can't be one of us. Okay, I'd like to be one of you. It's that simple. Right? Those of you that can't figure out that starving children is not a Christian thing to do. Those of you that can't figure out that some of the things, right? USS Liberty. Anyway, I'm gonna go change glasses now. Right? Well, how about this one? Oh, look friendly. All right, Uncle Cousin. Yeah, Uncle Cousin. Oh, there you go. Get my blades. Okay, I'm gonna be doing some larping Bombay. But for now, that was, like I said, I didn't get through half, and that took it got 3.5 hours. So I quit now. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. I'm gonna be interested to see if, how badly I butchered that, but I think that's of use. Actually, I'm going to listen to it and see. It's going to take me like more than 90 minutes to get through that. 90. Like 105, more than 105 minutes to get through. I hit skip a lot on my own stuff because I know what I'm going to say, or when I'm, ranting, or when I'm taking a break off getting some tea or tears or whatever. Okay. Oh, announcements at the very end if there's anybody left, because some people actually watch and they just watch the very end, or they skip to the very end and just see if they're going to watch the whole thing or not. But anyway, those of you that are involved with AI, I think we should get together and we can make money with AI. 2, if you do marketing, my website is now, I will pay you a commission to market my website to homeschoolers. They need it. Oh my God, what I've seen, I've been doing a lot of research and been watching a lot of homeschool videos on TikTok and other places where homeschoolers post videos. They need help with math. A lot of them don't know they need help with math, but they need help with math. So if you sell them a flight of my passwords, I will give you a commission. If you come up with ways to market my website that are lucrative or make money, I will give you a commission. So there's that. Oh, the thing that I have to talk about every time now, because it's just crazy. If you're not using this, you're foolish. Ugh. More like I have two of them. I have more than that, but anyway, get that. This is an empty one, and this one has other stuff in it. I'll put the thing on there so I know. But anyway, the idea is find out about this and get some in you. 10 drops a day, preferably. I have now friends that can't do 10 drops a day. They do like 2 drops a day. 1 drop in the morning, one drop in the morning, 1 drop at night. Not 5, not 10. That's how potent this stuff is. It removes toxins. And they've done huge amounts of research now on their own to prove that their product removes toxins. And how do they do it? They measure how many toxins are in you before you take it, and then they measure how much toxin they can get out of you after you take it. That's simple. Hair samples, right? Skin and nails, and then just blood serum, lymph. They have figured out how to get the crap out of you. Do you know now that we are in such a world of plastic that there's microplastics that they can measure in your brain, like by weight, about 0.5% of the weight of your brain is plastic. You want to get those plastics out? So this gets the plastics out. And then there's self-assembling nanotechnology. And we're starting to discover that. You can go Crouton Ramon's House of Math on Facebook, and I have some pictures there. Because they're starting to see, it's nanotech, so it's very difficult to discover. But there's a little chart there, and it shows you all the different kind of, right? They're self-assembling. They respond to RF signal. In other words, they take direction, and they transmit. You got this as a defense. There's other things you can do to get it out of you. Oh, and then I take the other one. Here's the other one. I don't talk about this ever at all. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, this is the other one. This is just zeolite. I've always been taking zeolite. But anyway, this is the powdered one. This is the big stuff. This stuff is milled down to nano size, right? Nanotech, like 300 microns or whatever. Okay, and then there's this stuff, which is not milled down. And I like it in this form because I add it to stuff. It's not delicious. But this is zeolite, and it absolutely removes toxins from the human. Okay, so this is the big stuff. This is like colloidal size, right? This is the stuff for your guts and other stuff. This may or may not cross the blood-brain barrier. This absolutely, right? Okay, so if you're toxic and okay, both of these things, not one or the other, both. Okay, most people don't talk about this one. And I've been errant in not talking about this my own self. Get this, and then get it in you, and you will the change. You will feel better. You will dream. Okay, I can't make any kind of claims, but that is the most common thing that people say. Is that when they start your dreams? Sometimes you'll have dreams, and I've had this happen where I wake up and was that a dream? Or did that happen? Oh no, I was just dreaming. Okay, but sometimes they're so vivid and so real and so mundane, like just a regular old rent. Okay, and then you realize, oh no, that was just a dream. That didn't actually happen. Anyway, I'll put a link below. I guess is how that one works. To Masterpiece. It's all over my Facebook page if you want to find links to Masterpiece there. But the idea is get some and get it in you. Get in, especially get it in the little ones, right? But parents coming back, right? Didn't recognize their own children. Suddenly, oh, they know what day it is and they know who's in the room with them. 10 drops a day. Little ones, well, actually not that little. 20s. I need to get in touch with this person, actually, or these people, and hear the story directly. But anyway, in the 20s, autistic, pretty much never spoke in his life, never said much of anything to anyone ever. I don't know all the details, but I do know the fact that took some of this. I don't know how long it took. I don't know what the dosage was, what they were doing. Were they doing 10 drops a day, 1 drop a day? What was he doing? Anyway, don't know. But bottom line, started stopping. Just is having conversations now. After 20 years, mute. Okay. When I took it, right, and I'm not saying this is going to happen to you because, right, but I didn't realize how toxic and poisoned I was when I took it. It was like I can't describe it, like a weight got pulled off of my head. I could feel it, like something got pulled. And then, like I said, the vivid dreams. And then for a little while there, it was like one side of my head felt different, lighter, better, more. And then a few days later, the other side felt better, more. And then both sides, and then all kind of little things. Anyway, I can't speak highly enough about this. It's $50, people. $60 with shipping. Okay, you people in Canada, get the pet one. Because again, the demons don't like it when dirt and water thwarts their evil plans. So get this and get it in you. The cat, my cat, if he could speak, would vouch for this. I'm sure of it, because that cat turned into a lovely cat after taking 1 drop a day. Notice the difference after about, I'm going to say, not even 2 weeks. Like, he just became a friendlier, better, more chill cat. That's all I can say. That's worth the $50 right there. And that was only a few drops. I don't, like, he didn't get his own bottle or anything. Anyway, get this. It will make it will make reading easier. It will even, this one thing my girlfriend said, it was like she had like this fog. I don't know how to describe it. Like, you don't notice. It's not like until it disappears. And my youngest boy, same thing. Okay, he did this 2 times against his will. On the second one, he was like, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. You can't make me. Right? That's what it took. You wonder why he doesn't speak to his mother. Anyway, or barely. But the idea is that after he took that, he said the brain fog went away. I didn't realize I had a brain fog. But like I said, I didn't feel sharp. I didn't have a lot of senior moments. I didn't feel run down, or I don't know what the word is. But I definitely noticed the difference when I took the shit. No question. And like I said, it felt like something got lifted off of my head. I don't know how to describe it any other way. It was like there was a block there, or there was some kind of weight there, and then it went away. Okay, that's my experience. Other people, when I tell them that, some of them go, yeah, it was kind of like that. And other people are like, no, it didn't happen at all. and then I have one lady, she's taken like 3 bottles of it, and she goes, I don't notice any difference. I'm like, well, then quit taking it. Maybe you're not that toxic. And that's exactly 1 out of 43 now, I think I have people that have done it. Okay, I supposedly have a couple of thousand followers here. Every fucking one of you guys should be taking this. If you're not already. I mean, you don't have to order it from me. Order it from whoever. But get it in you. Right? I'd like it if you ordered it from me, if you heard about it from me. But if you heard about it from somebody else, order from them. Or if you like somebody else, order from them. Because you get commission. The way that works is you get 25%, I believe, is what it is. It's 25 and 5. So if you order from me using my link, and you won't, because I'm going to give you my girlfriend's link, so she'll get 25, and then I get 5 because I got her, right? Okay, but if you, once you get your link and you give it to a friend, when they order, you're going to get 25. And if they turn somebody on, you'll get 5 of that. That's it. They give away 30% in marketing. That's all it is. I would have cut it up differently and done a whole different, but they didn't want to be complicated. And the idea is, and it's on, if you talk to the people that started this company, they really do have highest, best good in mind, and they're trying to make a difference. What can we do to make a difference? Because here's what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing this on my Facebook, and I'm seeing this in Instagram and a lot of other different places, is that a lot of people, they didn't take the shot, but people around them did, so they had ill effects. I know women don't talk about their periods, but a lot of women started having fucked up periods because the women that were around them did this. And then their periods were fucked up, even though they didn't do this. All right. There you go. Okay. All 2 of you watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Educate yourself. Educate others. E pluribus unum. And be looking, Yeah, I'm not going to do it tonight, but tomorrow, let's get the second half of that done. And then I got other reading to do. And then there's current events to talk about. And then, oh my God, there's all kind of stuff happening. All right. Take it easy, Crime Stoppers. E pluribus unum, and I will talk to you guys